Welcome to the Nightbird Radio Podcast. I'm Timothy Saylor, and I'm going to be your host this evening as we sound out the subconscious, navigate the nocturnal, and explore the farthest reaches of our experience, coming at you from the back of an 86 Dodge Ram van on the rolling foothills of the Blue Ridge Mountains in the Great Forest, deep in the heart of the Kali Yuga. This is radio for the hauntological turn. This episode of the Nightbird Radio Podcast was brought to you by Mel Priestley, Amber H., and Lou H. Thank you for making this show possible. If you'd like to support the show and hear your name or a cryptic message in lieu of your name read at the top of the next episode, head to nightbirdpodcast.com and navigate to the Support the Show page. Thank you so much for your generous support. You keep this show going. And remember to subscribe to this show wherever you listen to your podcasts and give me a 5-star rating. That helps a lot. I'm also on Instagram at Nightbird Podcast, on YouTube at Nightbird Podcast, on Mastodon at timsaylor@numinauts.club, and on Telegram at t.me/nightbirdradio. And welcome back, Nightbirds. It's great to have you back, and it's great to be back here in 2023. So wait, how long is Kali Yuga supposed to last? 432 million years, my lord. Shit! This week I was joined by Shariyf Clark and Michael Simon, who came back on the show for a really fun and casual conversation. A great way to say goodbye to 2022 and hello to 2023. We talked about how bees are cool, critical conspiracy thinking, aliens and intelligence agencies, empire magic, initiation, and the guys shared some stories about magical operations with astounding results. We talked about the term UPG as a possible psy-op, the technology of the written word and the magic of the spoken word. At one point, I think we captured an EVP. See if you catch it. We also gave our predictions for where magic is going in the new year. But I'm not going to keep you too long in the intro here. Let's get to the conversation. Igor, did you look that up on DuckDuckGo or Google? What you got in that magic pot?
Yeah, what is that?
Honey.
It looks like just the honey pot.
Yeah,
Is it mushroom honey, dude?
Homie. Nah, dude, just honey. I'm making a hot toddy.
Oh, yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Yo, that shit looked mad exclusive. I for a second I thought it was a bubbler. I was like, yo, that bubbler is extra.
I thought it was a fucking witch's brew, man. I thought you were coming correct with
it. It is, though. It's just tea and whiskey and honey. So
Nice,
it's just an excuse to eat honey, honestly.
Yeah. That shit's soothing, though, man.
I love honey, dude.
That's what's up, bro.
I fuck with bees heavy.
I want to get some, man. Like, I would really like to,
Me too.
hang out with them because I feel like,
Oh, they're a trip, dude.
Well, and especially like nowadays, it's weird, right? So like, I'll fuck with bugs now, and I liked them as a kid a lot, right? I loved bugs. I would always go collect bugs, and then for a long time, I became afraid of bugs, and they were gross and they're icky, and they're not supposed to be here with me. But then once I kind of came back around to like this idea of like, no, we're all sharing this shit together, man.
Yeah.
And like now, like I'll send bugs Reiki and shit when I'm holding them and stuff. And I'm telling you, dude,
just blasting bugs.
Just blasting No consent and fucking
no consent.
Try this healing death ray.
But dude, I'm telling you, man, I
That's
don't
so
fear
funny.
them, and like I feel like they don't act weird, like they act chill, man. Like I'll fuck with spiders and everything, man. I feel like I could be covered in bees and no one would bite me.
I feel like I would freak out, but if I got past my anxiety, I could probably get there too.
What makes them want to bite.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I'm just a base material dude. I don't know what to tell you.
Oh man. Yeah,
I fuck with bees though. There's something about the way they all work together, and like when you're driving through Utah and all their state highway signs have beehives on it. they're trying to be like, yeah, this is you're coming into this hive. Like we all work together, and yeah, I mean that's what there's. I don't know a lot about Mormon theology, but if they're using that on their state signs, there's probably like something going on, and bees go way back, dude. We go way back with bees, and there's just I like them.
I think it's I think in 777 bees are attributed to Venus.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I'm actually gonna go get my copy. I have Eshelman's 776.5. Let me go see if that shit's true, because there was something that went down. A couple of years ago with the Temple of Thelema. We had a seminar. We have an annual seminar. So people from different temples come up and we linked. And there was some symbolism around Venus. And there was a shit like out of nowhere. Like this entire swarm of bees just kind of came out of nowhere and like infested one of the members' backyards. And then it was like that for the whole fucking weekend. And we were in temple. Like we did our temple thing to kick off the weekend. And then the bees came. And then once we closed temple, they fucking left. And then we looked up the omen, like, yo, what was that shit about? And sure enough, somebody broke out 776.5, and I think
Venus,
a section with insects, and the bees were attributed to Venus, and we were like, what the fuck?
I mean, they revolve around a queen, right? They produce this sweet, beautiful honey. They all work together.
They're all about like they build a home together, man. They live in a
and it's like their individual will is all like right. That's probably another reason. Yeah, Crowley put them with bees and Venus. I don't know. And that's just what I'm thinking.
And also Venus is in Capricorn right now. You know what I'm saying? So you have this whole theme of like, working hard, like harmony through work. Working harmony and shit.
Well, and bees are also chthonic.
Yeah,
especially in like the Hecate tradition, because they build within caves. Yeah, so it's like this descent, also, right? Anonymous descent or whatever.
I always kind of felt like they had an ancestor connection or the dead, like for sure. Like I don't know, like
Well, Venus is conjunct Pluto right now too. It's not a direct conjunction. It's within 3 degrees. It's within the 3 degrees. So there is that chthonic connection too. You know what I'm saying?
Venus in Capricorn conjunct Pluto. Yeah, that's pretty.
Aren't Venus and Mercury today kind of like hugging or something?
Hold on one second. Let me see. I think so.
Whatever happened today was hugging is not the verb I would use.
Oh yeah, you not had a huggy day? I've had a great day.
Adjective, is that an adjective or a verb? No, verb is an action, right? So you're hugging. Damn, sorry. Go back to second grade.
I think you could. I'm gonna start using hugging as an adjective. Like, man, I had a hugging day.
Well,
you should, dude. I'm gonna do it with you. I love it. But today was not a hugging day.
Yeah,
no,
today was a pushing day for sure.
Yeah. Well, Venus and Mercury. Mercury is also it's retrograde right now, and it's conjunct Venus. Right? It's not exact. They're a degree apart, and Venus and Pluto are 2 degrees apart right now. And Mercury is within 3 degrees of Pluto. So there's a lot of fucking, underworld.
Yeah.
Shit going on, bro. Hold on, y'all. Let me go get my copy of 776.5 and verify.
Mars and Aquarius and that swarm shit. Or Mars and
the Book of Knowledge.
What are we in? Gemini?
Gemini.
I need to show up.
Man. I've been speaking all day. I've been talking to people all day long.
Damn, who you been talking to all day? I
talked to Rev, like the whole time I worked, me and Rev just were sat on the phone talking, like
cool.
Yeah. Old Reverend Janglebone, shout out.
Shouts out.
Yeah. Earlier I was talking to another guy, man. I don't know. I've just been like on the phone all day. It's been interesting.
That's interesting on a Mercury retrograde.
It is, man, for sure. Like I'm just
is that like a switching things for you, or are you usually not on the phone all day?
Usually not. Yeah. It's kind of a switch. And like I'm available. You know what I mean? Like I'm available to talk, so I talk. But like, no, not always like on the phone all day. It's definitely like different.
Yeah, if today is representative of how this Mercury retrograde is going to go, then I'm in deep shit.
Dude,
but we'll see what happens.
At least you're laughing about it, man. Dude, everyone around me has been going through so much shit, dude. Like,
it's been crazy.
I wonder what this has to do with. Okay, so my brother and his wife and my nephew and then my mom all got back from Mexico on Tuesday, right?
Okay.
And first off, they got stuck in customs for an apple. And then like the baby's car seat didn't come through luggage claim at all. Like it just didn't come. And then, which is like something that I never even thought of. And I was like, oh shit, that's really a big deal. Like, and then they get home, right? And I'm coming to bring them the dog and then pick up my mom and bring her back home. And I get to the house and my brother walks out of the garage and I'm like, dude, what is that around his feet? And the garage is totally flooded and the whole house is totally flooded. And the kitchen like ceiling caved in.
Oh God.
The pipe froze. Like, and they left this thing dripping and everything, but dude, it just doesn't like it got 8 degrees here and Georgia just isn't prepared for that.
Man.
So
I'm sorry to hear all that.
It sucks, but it's like, damn, even they were like, what is going on? They asked me like, what's going on with the planets? And I was like, well, let me tell you. Yeah. But like, I don't know. It's just like one of those moments where I'm like, okay, y'all are asking me about this now, then we know it's bad. Like,
yeah, man. I don't want to go into mine too much, but it's like my grandpa's dying and like just the way that everything is like trying to go. Oh, thanks, man. Just the way everything is like it's kind of swirling around, like very Mars and Gemini, but also this like it's funny we're talking about the Venus and the bees and the swarm because that's how it all kind of seems. Like it seems like there's something going out that all the bees are like and getting kind of agitated about. And you know when they pick up that tone, when you could tell bees get agitated and the volume goes up, or like a dog barks. There's like this turn where a dog goes from a dog into like a demon.
Yeah.
It's like kind of that in between right now. So it's funny that we're talking about bees for that reason, because that's kind of how I was seeing it all today. But yeah.
It's definitely like, I feel like when you were talking about the chthonic energy in the air, that's interesting with the Venus-Pluto thing because like the time between Christmas and Epiphany is like just some superliminal time. It's also considered like a really auspicious time to die. So maybe
that's interesting.
Yeah. Which is
I don't know if he's going to go that quick, but 12th night, right?
Yeah.
That's a couple days into January. I don't know how that works, but yeah, that's interesting. I was also thinking some of we found ancient tombs weave like I was there digging. Like archaeologists and shit have found honey as offerings in like ancient tombs. And it's like preserved, right? Like I think a couple years ago they cracked open some honey and they were like, this hasn't like there's nothing wrong with it. It's preserved itself for 2,000 or 3,000 years. So yeah,
really
man.
good honey. You like you can put that stuff on a wound and heal it. So I haven't tried it.
Antimicrobial, antibacterial.
Yeah.
Good for you. It's good for them when you like take some, right?
It decreases your allergies too. Like if you have pollen allergies or anything. Stuff,
yeah. Pollinates all your crops, right? Because they all fly around communicating, talking.
You can make booze out of it.
Yeah, mead, right?
Yeah.
Like how far does that go back?
Yeah.
So and mead.
That's got to be the first. Some of the first. Like I'm not like a historian by any means, but I feel like that's got to be some
disclaimer.
Alcohol.
I would think so.
In case you didn't know,
right? Like I don't know. I'm just not like a rememberer fat guy about certain things, but like Göbekli Tepe, like they found leftover psychedelic beer, what was that made out of? Probably grains. But yeah, mead has to go back.
No, man, I feel like honey would have come before, like honey beer would have come before grains. I feel like,
I don't know.
but I don't know either. We're gonna.
I
have
don't
to
know
ask.
because if
We
you
gotta
got
get
your
a
grains
booze,
in
historian.
your Sumerian stone warehouse, right, and it gets a little wet, and like
But see,
I don't
I
know,
just feel
someone's
like people were
drink it.
cultivating honey before they were cultivating grains.
I don't know. I would be inclined to believe that, but I have honestly no idea.
We're gonna take.
Like, I
Speaking
wanna
of grains,
believe
we're
that.
taking all this with the grains of salt.
Right. But like, hopefully we're right about some of it.
I'm just gonna be confident about it and then hope that makes the difference.
Yeah, Odin and the mead of knowledge.
Yeah, the meat of poetry.
Kvasir, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Found it.
Okay. Well,
right.
let's
Found it. All right. So this is 776.5. Let's see. All right. So column 101. Wait. Column 105, Yetziradic attributions, 14, Venus. Also attributed to Daleth. Okay. And then column 801, animals, real and imaginary. You go down to line 14, the dove, sparrow, swine, oyster, porpoise, bee. So
a lot of like swarming animals, really. A lot of animals that spend a lot of time with each other.
pause.
Yeah.
Pigs. I like pigs.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
But pigs are often thought of as a wealth like omen. Like pigs, did you know this? Represent like wealth and plenty and I know, and like
totally.
Yeah, because if you got pigs, I mean
you
got meat.
You got
yeah, man. You live
and you got my truffles.
Bacon.
Probably. Yeah.
They got truffles. You got like all your trash going away. So,
yeah,
like, some
yeah.
sanitation concerns might be taken care of.
I
wish I was like a historian sometimes, man, because like it would be cool to actually know what I was talking about. But like these are things I can extrapolate. But like when you think about like wrens and sparrows and what was the other one? Swans, just like grouping animals that fly together, animals that travel together to different climes and stuff like that. Very Venus, very like one body, well, multiple bodies, but like one thing, it's very Venus, very love,
moving together,
especially in that thelemic way where love becomes like unity of whatever you find.
Well, like a flock of birds, right? Like how do they like? There is some sort of like, or you could be forgiven for thinking there's some sort of oversoul that's operating when they fly together like that. It's the same with like a school of fish, right? Like they look like they're moving as one being. Like
they know where they're going.
Yeah. Well, they like the way they flock and
right.
School.
Well, according to 776.5, the magical formula of Venus is agape. And given that bees are, attributed to Venus, you get that kind of that connection there.
Yeah, that's one of the love words in Thelema.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's one of the love words in Christianity too.
Is it? Oh yeah. Like, but in Christianity, doesn't it represent like
it's unconditional,
like a service?
Okay, it's just unconditional love is what I remember it being, and I think. They probably both came from the same root, which is the Greek, right? Like, and I think
the highest
and Crowley probably
charity
took it to someone else. Yeah. Love of someone else, because there's like erotic love, right? Eros.
Yeah, Eros.
Yeah. There's agape, and
But Eros is also like the driving force of the cosmos, isn't it? Like it's like I don't know. I just remember hearing that.
Not sure. Is it?
It probably depends on who you're asking.
What is the driving force of the cosmos?
Fucking.
Like, I'm curious. Is it really like the heat and the ice meeting together in the creative void of Gununga Gap? That, you know what I mean? Like, is that the creative force of the universe, or like? And Eros, it's I would like to chase that down a little bit. I mean, Eros would be the creative force of the universe if it's the one that like begets. Right.
I wish I could.
People have sex and they create.
You wish you could be a historian.
Sex magic formula.
You wish you could be a historian. I wish I could cite my sources. But alas, and
we
alas.
can. We just need to do it more and practice.
I don't believe in it, man.
I don't know if I do either, but the books are some of the books are mad interesting.
No, man, that's the thing. Like a bibliography that sends you to like 10 more books is like worth more than its weight in gold. Man.
Yeah,
like,
totally. Yeah,
for real.
Nightbirds, I hope you've been enjoying the conversation so far, and there's more to come. But first, I have to ask that you support the show. As I'm sure you've noticed, there are no commercials on this show. There are no paywalls. You get everything up front. For there to be free dialogue, I think it must remain uncaged by the interests of advertisers. But Nightbird Radio does cost time and money to make, and your support means I can spend less time delivering pizza and more time doing this. That's a win-win. So that's why Nightbird Radio is a value-for-value podcast. I hope you found value in this show, but I can't and won't dictate how much. Only you can decide that. But what I can do is invite you to take that value, turn it into a number, and head to nightbirdpodcast.com, navigate to the Support the Show page, and donate. We're also listed on podcastindex.org, which means you're able to send Bitcoin via the Lightning Network using your favorite Podcasting 2.0 apps, which can be found at newpodcastapps.com. I also accept services and dry goods in trade. There are many forms in which value is stored, after all. Email me at tim@nightbirdpodcast.com for more information. Sponsors will get a special mention at the top of the show. Thank you for your generous support. Do you want to get in on the conversation? I've teamed up with Numinauts to offer you the opportunity to do just that. For only $1 a month, you'll get access to Numinauts.club, a Mastodon server for animists and artists that brings together the Nightbird Radio and Soapbox podcast communities. Just click the link that I've provided in the show description to get started. Now let's get back to the conversation.
Yo, when did you get into conspiracy stuff? Like, when did that kick off for you?
Dude, man, not that long ago.
Okay. Word.
Yeah. Because, like,
yo,
man,
Shariyf, are you into this shit? Because sometimes I see when we're talking about it, you're like, eh.
I'm iffy about it, bro. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I'm kind of iffy, but
what conspiracy? It depends on what conspiracy you're talking about, right? Because some of them are fucking straight up like common knowledge.
Yeah, but don't get me wrong,
Totally.
man. When I was like in high school and shit, in college, you know, me and my friends, we were always talking about fucking behold a pale horse and
I never read that one.
symbolism.
For real?
The symbolism on money and shit, like you
the
know
symbolism
what I
on
mean?
money is interesting,
Like,
and I always
all
was
the
like,
Masonic imagery on money and shit.
I was always
Yeah.
fascinated by secret societies.
Shouts out William Cooper.
Yeah, word. Yeah, rest in peace.
R.I.P.
R.I.P.
R.I.P. Billy.
They got
Billy
him.
Williams.
Really cool.
But look, so it really actually hasn't been a long time, and like I really, man, like I will tell you this, bro, and don't let this change your opinion of me. But when I was in college, I wanted to be in the FBI. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like I was a
Yeah, that's just
straight
sexy.
and narrow dude. Like
Word.
Yo, I still want to be in the CIA, bro. I want to be a
Word,
fucking
me too.
spy.
right?
I wish
Who doesn't
I was
secretly?
like I straight up.
Yo, if the Air Force called me right now, they're like, "Yo, we need you to come be."
We just need you to come through, bro.
program. I'd be like, "Sign me up."
Yeah, I'm like, yo, I'm pulling
Also,
up.
the Pledge of Allegiance and all that shit.
What if they were like, we need you to wage
I'm
a
pulling
mind
up.
war, like against some people, like you know what I mean? Like
I don't know. It might be like a Star Wars scenario where they took all those X-wings and then flew off and set up their own little shit.
yeah, right.
But I don't know.
Nah, you know what would be dope if someone like an ex-CIA agent or like a ex-Navy SEALs, like they knew that people were like, yo, you fucked your life up, so you can never be in the CIA or you can never be a Navy SEAL, but I can still train you for a couple $100. You guys want to go through some exercises? I would sign up for that shit so fucking fast, bro.
Quick. I feel like they don't even like those people are who they really recruit though.
Yeah, I was gonna say they don't care if your life is fucked up.
Who are like, yeah, like
they want you to need stuff.
If you're down, like that's who they're really using for some of this nasty shit. Like, my wife's grandfather was a wild like dude. And most of his stories, most of his stories can be like confirmed by his family and just like the circumstances. And I won't get into all of them because some of it's mad conjecture, but like I like the way this dude grew up and the way he joined the Navy, and he couldn't for the life of him. In his diary, he wrote it a couple times, like, I can't figure out for the life of me why they didn't kick me out. He was like fighting all the time. And then eventually, I mean, I could tell the story, but eventually someone came to him and sat him down and was like, you can't be doing this shit. but like we might have something for you to do. And he started doing it, and like most of his shit happened in the US, right? And this guy was like not on any rosters. He's not in any records. My man had ID but never had to show it because people just would recognize him. Like, told me he stood in front of Kissinger and like listened to Kissinger tell him what to do a couple times, and then he hated that dude. So it's just like there's some people that skate outside, like they have the SEALs and they have all these special teams, but like my wife's grandpa trained with the SEALs but was never officially part of a SEAL team. Mm-hmm. So like it's probably closer to that in my estimation.
Yeah, because they want to be able to burn you when they can, and just like
my man retired at 27 years old and never worked again that day in his life.
Yeah, but it could have gone another way.
Had a house.
It could have gone another way.
Serious work.
It could have gone a different way, and he woke up one time and they were like,
and no one like pretended like they
thank you so much for everything. Yeah, and he flew back. Well, I guess he went on base and like taught and shit, but like I don't know, man. There's just some people, and probably most of them don't make it out. But this is mad conjecture. I just like love the super soldier theory shit. I think it's really interesting, and some of his stories, like hair, like, and this dude was not in conspiracy theory, and like raised the hair on the back of my neck because I've been into this shit for a long time. So it's a shadowy world,
dude. I wonder how often something like The Departed happens, and that's like, to me, like, is a really good like spy movie, even though it's just cops, right? But like, how often does something like that happen and just no one ever hears about it? You know, like,
and
they just burn the guy, and it's like, yeah, he wasn't ours.
Or they do like Operation Snow White, which is like this Church of Scientology infiltration of
that was crazy, man.
And they got like 40,000 people into government positions.
What?
Like, and they still
have you not heard about this?
Track like most of them. Like, this is real shit.
Yeah,
that's wild.
It's the biggest government infiltration in history, right? Or like in the U.S. government history, or maybe just in general
history.
Yeah,
right. So you could have these little splinter cell agents, or you could just like bomb that shit and send 50,000 motherfuckers in, and like no one. What are they gonna do? You know, you're already in.
Wow.
Yeah, man.
We need to get tapped into that.
I was just curious your take on conspiracy, because like I said, every once in a while, but some of this shit is just
some of it is like,
really.
I guess it depends. It really does depend on it. You know what I mean? But the way things are going right now, even like regular shit is so far fetched. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, do we even need
all in the open,
because
dude.
shit is already
really
so wild.
You're totally right. It's
like,
all in the open.
Like life literally, like, what is it? What's that saying? Reality is stranger than fiction or some shit like that.
Yeah.
Like, some of the shit that is going down is just
for real
ridiculous.
Yeah, I remember I quit looking at the conspiracy subreddit when the pandemic hit. I was like, when the pandemic hit, I was like, I am not even.
Yeah, I only think it's going to get weirder.
Right,
it's only going to get weirder too.
Yeah.
Like, and you know, part of it, I think, man, that's really interesting, dude, is, and I've been thinking about this a lot lately, is that like what seems to be happening is that the things that should be occulted are in the open, and the things that are in the open should be occulted. You know what I mean? Like there's a flip, where it's like, I don't know.
Or they're using the occulted things to like, they're just layering over the top.
Yeah.
Like the way
but it's all in the open.
Television advertising goes.
Yeah.
Can connect back to these programs. So they just, it's all totally open. And it's one of those things where, like, I heard somebody say that, like, I don't know, if you ask an Archon, are you an Archon? It, like, has to answer you. It has to tell the truth or something like that.
I thought that was like
so
the
it's
cops. Like you have to tell me you're a cop, dude.
maybe. Well, cops, demiurge, I don't know.
Yeah,
man.
right. I mean,
You
yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
They both think they're creating a reality that they're actually not creating. But
petty rulers, man.
yeah, but like the way that like these sometimes you see tweets from politicians or whoever, and like they say it out loud. Like when this student loan shit hit, and there was a couple, like, I think Congress people on Twitter being like, this is a bad idea because one of our number one sources of military recruiting is people who can't afford college.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like they just tweeted that shit
straight up in the open.
They just said it.
Fuck it.
And
just
it's like, so you can tell it's getting wilder because it's almost like they can't help it.
Yeah.
They're like compelled to just say this shit out loud, and people go, oh.
Well, and then you have the people that like, okay, because like there's a camp of conspiracy that I'm definitely like not in, which is like, it's like a just a knee-jerk reaction to whatever's going on. And so like, let me try to explain what I'm trying to say too. Like, and it's a lot of like fear-based stuff, and they're always like worried about like satanic cults. Like it's Satan. There's just Satan and demons are doing everything. You know what I mean? Like
the way that shit rolls.
I call these conspiracy Christians, man. They're conspiracy Christians.
Yeah, dude.
Like, no, man, you got to synthesize the weird shit with the conspiracy stuff and like kind of get like a nice, like a nuanced place instead of just like falling for the psy-op that is the conspiracy and going to the other end, because there's a nugget of truth in every
conspiracy theory. QAnon is a pro-government conspiracy theory. Have you ever heard of a dumber idea than a pro-government? Like, tell me another pro-government conspiracy theory.
Dude, there was one, actually, dude, during the Russian Revolution, they used the same trick.
Yeah, that is so funny, bro. That is so funny.
And they said, the royal family is coming back. Like, everybody, just relax, don't do anything. The royal family is coming back, and like, dude, it's the same play. It is a pacification play.
They can't help it. They just like there's just these cycles of them trying over and over and over and over, and it just never works. For whatever reason, keep doing it too. Go ahead. Sorry.
I think it's because there's a specific group of people that want it to be real so bad that it's like,
because they want to be right.
Yeah.
They want to be. Like, it's more comfortable.
Yeah,
it's more comfortable to know all this shit lines up for the if the reptilians are in charge of this shit, that's more comfortable than it just being a bunch of absolute idiots running around doing whatever the fuck they want to do. Well, like, it's way more comforting.
That used to be my argument against conspiracies, was that, well, it's actually it's like the black pill version, or like the darkest timeline, right? Is that like everyone is just trying their best and no one knows. It's like a Kafka-esque nightmare, but I actually don't think it's quite that. I think it's a mixture of both. So like, and this is this is when you get into like
there's like a Venn diagram situation happening,
dude. It is right. So like, there's not like a shadowy cabal at the center of everything. There's like 10 shadowy cabals, and they're all vying for control.
But the crazy thing is, the crazy thing is, I watched this documentary about the Murdoch family, right? And Rupert Murdoch. And you get people like that, like, it like kind of supports the case that you just made. Like this dude had a dad who was in a war, wanted to get his country out of the war, used propaganda to make it happen, and then became, I don't know, he just became a media guy, and he started a media company, and he came up with this playbook to buy out smaller media companies in Australia, and then he dies, and then Rupert's like, yo, fuck this shit. Why stop at Australia? Let's do the whole goddamn world.
Right.
Yeah.
You know? And then you got this guy meeting other people who are literally like, we are literally trying to take over the world. Like
they're literal aliens. Like they're acting like literal colonizing, descended from technology aliens.
Well,
like while you were saying that, all I could see was like they live in my head.
But it is like
exactly what's going on. It is.
But it's just there's multiple factions, right? So like you have the Murdoch and like the private corporate like anarcho-capitalist faction, but then you have the media that's controlled by governments, man, and they're doing the same thing. They're just trying to keep control of the world.
They're playing,
they're all vying against each other. And like, you know who loses? Guess who loses?
Everybody.
Yeah,
everybody.
Because everybody then they're like, no, Fox News, and then they're like, no, CNN. It's like, dude, you fell for it, bro. Like, and that's why, like, the head on a swivel thing, like this conversation is the kind of conversation I like to have because it's going to satisfy nobody that listens to it.
Where everybody's like, yo, fast forward through this shit. But but
consume.
Because people want to be right. And it's not a matter of, it's not a matter of like, oh yeah, you called it, man. That was what was going to happen. Like everybody dropped dead. You know what I mean? Like it's a much more nuanced, gray area. But that's like, man, it's
like the way Project Looking Glass works. Whereas if you look at a scenario and you can see all the scenarios, then like you can plan for all these scenarios. So that they'll like I'm not saying they do this, but like they'll do something, problem, and then they'll go to Looking Glass and see which scenario works best for them, and then they'll implement that slowly. Like that's how, if you are crazy, like that's kind of how this shit could look. Because you see people calling stuff early in the pandemic that like didn't necessarily pan out, and it's almost like the observer effect. Like when you see it, it becomes not a particle, and it becomes this other thing, right?
Oh, that's interesting.
Like the act of you observing it, like changes it almost.
The awareness.
So I don't know. Conspiracy theory works weird like that too.
Definitely.
There's all this historic shit, and
Want to hang out with other nightbirds and soapheads? For only $5 a month, you can gain access to the Polytechnic of the Numinauts, a private Discord server for artists, animists, and searchers that brings together the Nightbird Radio and Soapbox podcast communities. Just click the link I've provided in the show notes to get started. Now let's get back to the conversation.
Anyway,
I just sent him a message.
Yeah.
Yo, calls me for a second.
How can I do that? How do I do that? Is there a
oh man.
This is so funny, dude. Like I'm such a Zoom fucking
go to participants and then look.
I can
for the listeners out there, y'all get enough.
He's trying to take control of he's trying to take control of the meeting.
They live.
What cabal do you work for, dude? All I have is so I go to participants, I go to Shariyf.
Yeah, go make co-host. This should be make co-host.
Damn, I wish a cabal would show up. Like I could use some money.
So I can.
I'm gonna put y'all onto a real conspiracy right now.
I can make you the host, but I can't make you the co-host. Is that the same thing?
Make me the host real quick.
But is the recording still going to come to me?
Yeah. All right, cool.
All
right, so check this shit out. So, all right, so this is what I want to know. Right.
All right, let's hear it.
Why does Mo look like the dude from the Esoterica?
Damn!
Like dude. That's a real like. What,
I love that guy.
Are we deep faking right now or what, bro?
No,
this is dead ass a conspiracy, bro.
It is a conspiracy. I claim that I'm not this man. I put it on record that this man and I are not the same man.
He's got a great
I would never wear horn rim glasses like that. Are you fucking kidding me? What are you saying to me right now, dude?
Yo, deep fake, bro. That's all I gotta say.
Deep fake. Damn.
Oh my god, man. Here's the thing, man. Here's the thing that's funny about deep fakes, okay?
Maybe.
Listen to this, man. I just thought of this. People are concerned that the technology is going to be used to make politicians fake.
Yo,
We don't need
see,
it, dude.
See, this is like, yo, this is the conspiracy shit that just like, yo, are you serious? Like, just look at the politicians now, bro.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, we don't need machines to make the politicians fake at all. Like, they are
these
literally
people are idiots.
We have it's like we have the dumbest. We have the generation of flunkies that just got shooed into the government and are now like
they're
what the fuck?
That's really, I mean, I think really what we're coming towards is going to be more,
Yeah, I think it's over for us Americans, bro. Like
it's more because of incompetence.
Dead ass, bro. This shit is done. This experiment, democracy, on its way out.
Oh shit!
And it took was a big ass lie. It took
prediction show.
It just took like someone was just like, you know what? Fuck it. Just see, this shit was fucking rigged. Oh shit.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's all it fucking took.
And you know what? It was being rigged the whole time before that, and no one cared.
Oh,
exactly. But this goes back to the Murdoch. Rupert Murdoch not single-handedly.
Well, it breaks the game,
other
right?
People.
It breaks the game to call the game. Like you can't. Like there's kind of
totally.
Right. Like because
it's like
I think
everybody
like
Santa Claus isn't real. Santa Claus isn't real. Santa Claus is your mom and dad. Look, Santa Claus is your mom and dad.
Yeah.
Now what?
Right.
What you're like,
look what shifts. Yeah, dude, look what shifts in reality for sure.
And it shifts reality and it breaks the fourth wall in a way, man. Like it because everyone wants to live in the illusion of the perfect society or whatever. Like you want like my parents love each other very much and they never fight. Right? Like everyone wants to live in that world. And when you introduce doubt into that, man, it really is like
that's exactly
it's original sin, right? It's that like
word. I'd never thought about it like that.
Wow.
That's crazy because usually when I say something like people don't want to hear it, I probably walk it back because like I remember how hard it was for me to realize this shit and like look around and like have to be like, fuck. and I've seen people go crazy from it too. Like I've seen people like realize it and go and they can't find their way back.
Some people don't make it
back,
man.
They can't find their way out. And like, it's understandable. The whole like, man, I like
it's
to think
initiation.
of it as like a mythology set. Yeah, dude, it's like a mythology set. So there are initiation points. And like, when you do it, like, I don't know. I think I talked about this on Soapbox, but like if you get abducted by aliens and you show back up at home and the next day you don't have any food in your house, you got to go to the grocery store. Like,
man,
how the fuck are you
how do you reconcile that? Exactly.
Yeah.
I think about that conversation all the time, dude. And I think that like, but you did talk about that on Soapbox, and I think about that all the time, man. And that's
I remember how
that's where the rubber meets the road, dude. That's like the work of life.
I lost like my second semester of senior college year because I just had this fucking experience that just like I couldn't do anything else. Like I just had to chase this shit down and it like thankfully I was deep enough in college or it like would have torpedoed college for me. Like I could just cruise at that point, but like I remember losing like a year of my life like trying to reorient in this new place. So yeah, man, it's deep. And I don't mean to poo-poo it because like the steak tastes good, man. And some people just want to stay and eat it. And I can't hate them for it.
Dude, there's nothing wrong with it. And like, I actually, like, I'm kind of on the, there's this author, Anthony DeMello, and he talks about, he's like a mystic, Christian mystic, but he talks about how like, it's actually violence to try to wake someone up that doesn't want to be woken up. Like,
I probably would agree, honestly. I agree.
And I don't even
it can be violent.
Like the waking up thing is like a loaded fucking term even now. You know what I mean? Like
yeah. We might get canceled throwing that shit around.
Oh, dude, I'm pre-canceled. I come pre-canceled. I lost
says it on the can.
Man, I lost some followers on this one recent one, man. It's cool. I got back more than I lost.
Yeah.
When I was talking about some conspiracy shit, man. I
Which
think
one?
people listen to it and they were like,
Nick Cannon
nah.
one?
No, the one with Noah. Did you
I
listen
don't
to
think
that
I've
one?
listened to that yet. No, not
Oh
yet.
yeah, man. Yeah, we went deep.
Okay.
And you
cool.
know,
I
we
gotta
talk
listen
can't wait
to
to
that
cancel
shit.
you too. I'm gonna
Yeah,
cancel
word.
you
I'll
too.
be like, yo, fuck
Publicly.
Tim Sandler. Fuck that
because
shit.
I think like, and so one of the things that we talked about was like, okay, so here's what's concerning to me though, is that
Word.
I do think that thinking with conspiracies like stretches your consciousness. I think that like my ability to take something and look at it from another angle and like question it in a way that's like not socially acceptable at all.
Yeah.
And so like I'm stretching my mind and I'm doing it in a way that isn't actually going to benefit me in a societal way. So it's not like I'm gaining friends or money from this. I actually only stand to lose from it. But I'm bending my
Right.
mind and looking at something from a different angle anyway, and taking the risk onto myself for doing that. And so I think that it is a consciousness expanding activity when I can approach it with like what we're doing now with like a light heart and with the head on a swivel and not like get sucked into the rabbit holes and not like join a militia or whatever and like you know, but like it's easy not to, right? But if I can do that and so the reason that I think it's concerning is that the dialogue about conspiracy theory, it seems to me to be telling that critical thought is being so like maligned.
Right.
So like,
Yeah.
you know, because like if I want to be like, well, let me just like look up if the world is flat.
Right.
You're going into psy-op town, dude. There's like fake websites that
you're
like
on your way.
Dude, it's so right. And like on all sides, from both sides, right?
Yeah.
And so that's really concerning to me, man.
Well, it's like there's no one like when you have these experiences, the only people you know who to turn to are like people on message boards.
Right. And like YouTube.
Yeah.
When I think I was 11 or 12, and I had always just had this like mistrust of adults, like from the beginning. And like things happened to me in elementary school that was like, oh, okay, I think fuck these people, but I'm gonna give it a couple more years. And then I went to my dad's friend's house and he handed this book to my dad. He's like, yo, check this out. It's this really interesting history book. And it was Ruled by Secrecy by Jim Mars.
Yeah.
And he talked about the part where like they let Pearl Harbor happen in order to pull us out of the Depression economy because they knew it would kickstart like a real industrial revolution in this country. And I was like, fuck, I got to read this book. So I read it and I was 12 and I had nobody to go to.
Damn, you read that when you were 12?
Yeah, man. I was into this
wild.
shit way probably earlier than I needed to be because I was interested ever since I had that experience with angels in like second grade. Like I was chasing this shit down. My dad had these like, remember those? They were like life books. And it would be like mysteries of the unexplained.
I love those.
And there'd be like a gray alien in that shit. And I would look through it all day.
And the pictures of the aliens were scary as fuck.
Dude, the pictures of the aliens were so scary, dude.
And so compelling, dude. So compelling.
There's
like
and like that lamb
looking for something a little bit deeper.
You know that lamb picture that was like what Crowley came in contact with lamb and it looks exactly like a gray alien?
Oh my God. Just thinking about it, just giving me chills right now.
Me too, man. And so like, and that was before any of that shit, right? So like, there is something in our collective unconsciousness that takes that image and just experiences fear. It's like when a cat sees something that looks like a snake. Like we just know that that's something wrong. Like,
well, and you see the spore like start mushrooming in culture, right? Like I saw those books and then like X-Files would come on and my next door neighbor would watch it. And just that intro alone was like, okay, like there's obviously something going on here. And since I don't have any adults to talk to, like, I guess the X-Files is it. I guess I'll read these weird books and just like be a weirdo and hang out at the comic shop and like, because I didn't know what else to do. We don't have shepherds for this shit. And like, I don't want to say it's like we shepherds for the truth, what's really going on. But like, if we could think more critically about it and just like have it as a mythology, So when a kid approaches and is like, yo, tell me why Zeus had hair from his leg and shit. Like there's people who can explain those myths, but we don't have anyone in our culture. So, maybe we do a little bit more, but there's, you hear what I'm saying.
No, I totally hear what you're saying. And so one thing Nick Hinton said was that he was talking about how conspiracy theories are our modern mythology. And I would actually take that like a step and say they are what happens to mythology when you don't have any framework for it.
Right.
You don't have elders that pass it down. You don't have storytellers. We do, but you know what I mean? Like,
they're telling these stories though. So like when the gray alien shows up robotic, coming from this robotic spiritualist culture, like it's no fucking wonder that these, whatever these things are showing up like that to this like completely devoid of really any spiritual impulse outside of mainstream Christianity. Like
it's some interesting idea to look at it as empire magic when you think about the okay, so like why I always wonder like why does the government like care so much about managing the UFO story? And it's like, well, it's empire magic, dude. They're managing the story. They're managing the story. Like it doesn't they don't have to necessarily be hiding anything. I mean, they are, you know what I mean? But like,
no one believes they're doing good anywhere else. So like they might as well be working with aliens because that's like the next step after we lose this, whatever patriotic thread like held us together originally. Like once that's gone, and it is like,
you know what's so, I'm sorry to cut you off.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was going to say, you know what's funny about that?
Shouts out Project Bluebeam. My bad.
The second coming is going to be Bluebeam, dude. They're going to project Jesus up in that motherfucker. Shariyf,
what's funny about that is, from what I understand, the government like declassified and released a shit ton of information about UFOs, and nobody gave a fuck. Like, and maybe like it's like it like you would think like first off, growing up in like the 80s and the 90s. You know, specifically the 90s, when you had shows like The X-Files, you had these fucking shows, these HBO shows, these documentaries about UFOs where they fucking scared the shit out of people. You know what I mean? Like to have that information confirmed and have people be like, fuck it.
People want to eat the steak.
Yeah.
Well, also I think it goes to show you that like
how jaded we are as a fucking...
We're jaded, but also it's much more of a religious belief than it is like based on like some data. Like
yeah.
So it's like, we put
puts it in the realm of myth. That puts it right, like what you just said. That really does camp it adjacent to like mythology. You know what I mean?
But there are always some people that you talk to and like they'll tell you a story and it's like, like what is going on here? Because like my wife's grandfather, his name is Steve. We went to Hawaii when I first started dating her, and he was outside with me one night, and I kind of found they were kind of telling me who he was. So I went out there with him one night and we were watching the sunset, and I was like, yo, tell me about UFOs. And he's like, I don't really like that. I don't know anything about UFOs. But like, and this, I have to stress this before I tell the story. Like, this dude was not a conspiracy theory guy. Didn't like it. Didn't fuck with it. Had no interest in it. When I brought up things, he would poo-poo it and be like, "That's ridiculous." So he tells me this story, and he gets sent to Wright-Patterson into a library, and he's looking for a book in a library, and he has access to whatever vault. I know this is just the guy's story I'm relating to. So he goes into one of the vaults, and on a shelf, he tells me there's a blue notebook, and he picks it up and he looks through it, and it's just a bunch of pictures of what look like UFOs, and he's uninterested and he puts it down. He goes into another vault, finds the book, and leaves. And like, this library was later covered up with concrete completely. So it's like someone will come forward in your life. Like, dude, I think if you keep doing this podcast, like eventually the weird synchronicities are going to happen, and someone's going to come tell you a story, and they're not going to know they're validating a bunch of shit. But like it also takes that mythology thing and like intertwines it with someone who looks like an initiate.
Like a John Keel type situation.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah.
Well, I'm just talking in terms of like
what are you supposed to do with like someone who's so credible like that?
Yeah,
you know,
that's
like
what
all these people.
Dude, that's what I find so interesting about experience, right? Like, because, dude, in the end, it doesn't like it's beyond, and this is why it's like this is also kind of putting it in the level of myth, right? Experience is beyond what is considered real or not real. It is like, to me, it is like the fundamental element of reality, right? Is experience. And so my experience, like, dude, I can have an experience and I could be sitting here in this van, like, but going into like another dimension. But like,
yeah,
to you, you're like, oh, you could say, oh, well, you were here the whole time. But dude, I went.
Right.
I was there. My experience was that, like, and I'm probably not doing it justice, but you know what I mean? Like, so.
Oh, yeah. That's how time works, right? It's geographic.
Yeah, man. And like, so what you're saying, right? So like when that person comes into your life who just totally like,
just
it's
not, like
their story can't exist almost at the same time as like my consensus view of reality. Dude, that tears the veil.
Right.
And it does, like,
and it's interesting because this dude lived in such a liminal life, like that someone like that is able to communicate that to you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like those liminal people who show up. Like when you walk out of CBS and some like dude who's obviously been smoking it for 3 days and up for the last 7 or whatever, like he just comes out and tells you some shit and you're like, what? Like, thinks there's a sink in there somewhere for you. It's like, it's these people who live on the edge sometimes.
But I think that's who, like, the gods, those people are the messengers of the gods, man.
Yeah, touched by madness, right?
Yeah. Because like I remember when I lived in like downtown, this would happen a lot more. But I would come into contact with people who were man, like like sometimes I look back and I say, like, was that person there, or was I like having a peak experience that I just was that I was interpreting as a normal interaction with a person on the street, but like this person said things to me that like were pertinent to my life in a way that they couldn't have known, but they like, it's just like you're talking about.
Yeah.
You ever have that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Like those oracular interactions, you know, with
or they just say something, or you just like see something, or they just like it's like someone tells you a story and it confirms like a bunch of weird shit that you saw in a rabbit hole one night, like, and it's the weirdest shit sometimes that, like, I don't know, it's easy to hide. That Mirage Man documentary is really good about this. It's just easy to hide shit when things are so uncertain. Like if the other side doesn't even know what they're dealing with, like if the Air Force doesn't even know what they're dealing with, someone starts seeing something, then like the disinfo agents head out.
Yeah, man. Chaos
and
agents.
It just gets tangly. Yeah. That's a good way to put it, man. Anyway, thanks for answering that question, though. I was curious when you got into conspiracy shit. So
yeah, man.
What a ride we just went on.
Yeah, no doubt, dude. I love it, man. I think it's such a fascinating topic.
Well, and all these other spiritual experiences, like add like when you start talking about magic and like how that interacts. But that's another thing.
What were you about to say, Shariyf?
I wanted to say I really liked where you were going with like engaging with, you know, conspiracy theories as a way to like expand your consciousness, you know what I mean? You know, or like more rigorously put, a way to sort of exercise like your capacity for critical thinking by engaging with information that at first glance can seem so ridiculous, you know. But the more that, like there's like there's a skill to being like, let me just set aside sort of criticism. Let me just set aside, anything that I have going on about this, and let me just engage.
Yeah. You remember the first couple times you did the LBRP? How like ridiculous you felt?
How fucking weird it was.
Yeah, dude. It like didn't feel right. I was like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
I'm spinning around a circle. And then eventually it like actually works.
Words, right?
What is that the one where you do this shit? Yeah.
One hand. You draw pentagrams in the air and like point your wand or whatever you have in the middle of the pentagram. And
I don't want to. I think I maybe did it once. I'm not sure that I ever did it. I think I did the visualization part. Where you float above the earth. Is that?
Yeah, that's the first part. Yeah,
that's the first part.
Okay,
that's the first part. Yeah.
I got what I needed.
No, I encourage, like, if people come to me and they're like, yo, tell me, I'm feeling like some ritual in my life. I'm like, all right, go do the LBRP for like 6 months. Every day.
Yeah, it's definitely something that starts to speak back after you've done it over a long period.
Yeah, I can see that for sure.
It just gets you ready. It gets you ready spiritually to like understand, like, oh, okay, I can feel something coming in and it vanishes. I'm not saying it's like the be all end all ritual, but like I think some kind of energy practice like the LBRP is like really super beneficial at the beginning. And because it helps banish these things that are like, this is ridiculous. This is never going to work. Like, what am I doing? How do I change?
Yeah, those are spirits, right?
As soon as you banish that and this shit starts working, it's like, oh, okay. Let's see what else.
No, man, I'm all about like a visualization energy practice like that. Like, and I've done a lot of similar stuff. I just never, for whatever reason, like that one didn't ever vibe with me. But like,
but that's what you guys were saying about like engaging with it and like seeing what happens. I think that's just a good.
Dude,
man,
I think
you never know. You never know.
Dude, contempt prior to investigation is always something that's kind of holding me back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Contempt prior to investigation. And like, that's something that I have had for a lot of things. And when you were talking about, we were just talking, it reminded me of when I was like, hook, line, and sinker into evangelical Christianity, right? Like, I was all in, man. But
I want to see pictures and video of you.
Dude, there's pictures of me worshiping and praising God.
I want to see them.
Dude.
I'm a deep fake them.
Oh, yeah, deep fake them onto
Hold it over your head if I don't like this interview.
Yeah, man.
I'm dropping these pictures.
But look, so there were things I wasn't supposed to read, man. Like, I wasn't supposed to engage with things that questioned that view. You know what I mean? Like, that questioned these things. But when I did, it's the same feeling I get when I read like a really good like conspiracy that I'm not supposed to believe in. Like, or like the people that believe that are crazy, right?
Yeah.
When I do that, and so it's the same sort of exercise. Like, there's that Terrence McKenna. If it's real, it can take the weight. Yeah. So I'm going to lean on it a little bit. Let me lean on my ontology a little bit and see if it can take the weight.
Yo, this whole conversation is mad Jupiter and Aries, by the way.
Like,
oh yeah.
Just like that willingness to trail, like the willingness to like kind of separate yourself from the crowd, you know, and be willing to trailblaze like philosophically. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is a good point because
for the sake of like expansion, like you talked about, like look, at the end of the day, this shit might not be real at all, but who gives a fuck? Because I just expanded my ability to research something, I expanded my ability to critically think for myself. You know, I expanded my capacity to engage in iconoclasm. You know what I mean? And destroy images that I've been cultural or societal images. That have like, you know, that at one level have left me
Real king
docile and robbed me of my individual power and authority. You know, I've expanded my ability to think for myself. You know, I've expanded my ability to withstand criticism from others, you know, who hold like opposing views and who lack the ability to at least suspend their beliefs. It's like the Soldier and the Hunchback, bro. If you ever read Crowley's Soldier and the Hunchback,
yeah. Oh,
read that
damn.
shit.
Okay.
I haven't read it, but I will.
Read that.
Dude,
yeah, you should check it out.
I'm really glad that you said that, because it actually makes a really good point too about conspiracy. Is once I am no longer doing the things that you said, I am now not doing it anymore. I'm doing it wrong.
Right.
So like once I start to follow blindly, once I start to take things hook, line, and sinker, once I start to not question my own shit, I'm all of a sudden even if I'm doing conspiracies, if I'm doing those things in regard to my conspiracies, if I'm just following them blindly, I'm not doing it anymore. And so I gotta swivel again.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the trick of conspiracy theory. That's a really good point. Yeah. That's the trap. Yeah.
That is the 100% the trap.
That's fucking dope.
Well, damn. So when was the first time that you did magic and you were like, because I want to hear this from both of you. When was the first time you did magic, or like you did something and something like extra happened and you were like, oh, okay, this is
real?
Shariyf?
Yeah.
I'm thinking, man.
I got to think too.
Yeah.
Mo, do you have one while we think? Was that a trick to make you answer your own question?
Probably subconsciously, yeah. Well, I've been thinking about this a lot, and I just wanted to put it out there because it's like the following is a true story. So I started smoking weed in my sophomore year of college. Like I had a house with a couple of homies and we had a pool and we would have some parties, and I was a little drunk one night and I went in my homie's room and people were smoking. I was like, okay, I'm gonna kick it. And they were like, do you wanna? And they were cool about it. And I did it a couple times and everyone was cool. And I sat back in my homie's, he had a recliner and they were playing some music, and I just like leaned back in the recliner because it worked this time. The first time it didn't really work. And I was laying there and I felt myself like lift up and like keep going. And I was like, oh, okay, but I felt like still attached. So I like, all right, well, let's just see where I'm going. So I went through the roof and I could see in our backyard, and we had a party going on, and there was like people in the pool and there was like some girls in the pool. And I just heard one of them say like, oh, damn, I wish I had a Corona. And immediately my spirit body or whatever, like went to the cooler. I know this is a really base spiritual experience, but like I went,
I love it.
I went to the cooler, and like in the back of the cooler, like there was a Corona, and I was like, I have to see, I have to know. And as soon as I like had that thought, I went zoop back into my body, and I like stood up and just left the room, and I went straight to the cooler, and it was exactly where I just saw it. So I was like, okay. So I picked it up and like took it to this girl, and she looked at me like I had 3 fucking heads. And I was like, I offered it to her. I wasn't being creepy. I was like, yo, do you want this Corona? Like, I didn't know what to say. Like, I just saw you from my spirit body because I was high as fuck, and I know you want a Corona, and I found you one, and then I came back, and I'm going to give it to you. You want it? Like,
and that girl was your wife? That?
No. She looked at me like I had 3 heads, and I was like, all right, I'm just going to go like watch TV. And I went inside. I was like, fuck it. Like, I have some pizza inside. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to explain this. Like, Headbangers Ball is probably on right now. I'm just going to go watch that. So I went in and everyone's just partying, and I just turned the TV on and turned to Headbangers Ball. And one of my favorite songs is Just Starting, right? That 3 Inches of Blood Trial of Champions song. So I was like, okay, that's cool. So I watched that and it was way cool. And then another song came on, which was What a Horrible Night to Have a Curse by Black Dahlia Murder. And it like, have you ever had those music experiences where you hear a song and it's like, oh, okay, I'm into that shit now. Like, oh, okay, I get that now. Mm-hmm. Like, and I had that with death metal, and then I've been into it ever since. And I was like, this is fucked up. And I just went to bed. But like that point, I realized that there was something else going on, and I wanted to get back into. That really brought me back around to like getting back into occultism, because before I just dabbled as a kid, and I was like, if this is like what's going on, like I gotta know.
Yeah.
It was what. Thanks for letting me tell that story too, because I've been like thinking of processing it a lot lately.
I like it too because it has some great elements of like a good like a psy story, which is where like it's never something crazy. Like I never get the secret to the riddle that solves my whole life. I just get like like I remember I had this precognitive dream one time that it was like I dreamed that I was working at a restaurant at the time and my boss was really cheap and he never wanted to change the mop head. And you know, it's just one of those things that I would think about because I'm like, this mop head, it smells terrible, but it needs to be changed. But this guy's cheap as fuck, and he's never going to change the mop head. So I one night dreamed that we were closing down, and I was mopping, and he was like, "Oh, change the mop head." And then the next day, when we were closing down, I got the mop, and he went, "Oh, you know what? Change the mop head."
Damn.
I called it, but it's like,
what do I? Yeah, how do I?
What do I do with it?
Like, if I tell that story to someone else, they're gonna be like, "Okay."
Right. Like, and I told people it, and they were like, "Whoa, that's crazy, man." You know what I mean?
Right. Totally.
But
you
got
to tell the Santa.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, Mo, you got to tell the Santa Muerte story, bro.
Oh damn! I was just, you know what? I was just texting my homegirl about that shit the other day. So I was living in a house in Phoenix, with two other homies, and it was kind of like a weird neighborhood, like in the middle of Phoenix. Like it was like this really weird, like forested neighborhood. It was beautiful. The house was really weird, but I was living there when I like joined up with the magical group that I ended up working with for a couple of years. And like, it was there that I really started, like in that house, I started doing all kinds of shit, probably that I shouldn't have been doing, but we had, we would have we would do something on the full moon. Like every full moon, I'd be like, yo, does anybody want to just come over and like, we'll figure it out and just do some shit. And we've done some cool shit. And I think it was in October. It was a full moon. And like looking back on it, like all these things are like, oh, okay, that was stupid. But we did a Hecate ritual, an invocation on a full moon in October. So I live in Phoenix, right? Like Phoenix is pretty diverse. I mean, I lived in a neighborhood that like was basically a Mexican neighborhood, and there was Mexican restaurants all over the place. And there's one next door that we could walk to, and we would get drunk or whatever and go to walk this place the next morning. And they had a produce warehouse in the back of that shit, right? So a produce warehouse. Yeah. So we're in the house doing a full moon ritual. It was me, my homie Kevin, Sandra, and my roommates were all there. And Kevin did the LBRP, and I was doing the LBRH, and then Sandra did the invocation to Hecate from, she just told me what it was from, Crowley, Vision of the Voice. In the Vision of the Voice, it's like the ode to Hecate or something. Anyway, so we open up the circle. She does it. As soon as she finishes, we hear this cat howl, and just like it was getting killed, howl, right? And we're like, oh shit. And then pop, 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 like gunshots out of the house. Someone screamed and shit. My homie Kevin jumped up and did the LBRP, and he was frightened. I could see it in his eyes that he was like shook. And I had just kind of started working this stuff, and he had years and years ahead of me because he was older than me. And it, like, to see that fear on his face was like, I started hearing my heartbeat and shit. Get really nervous. Your adrenaline kicks in and shit. So we closed everything down. I get the LBRH done. Everything shut down, and we're just like sitting there. And we're like, all right, well, Kevin and Sandra are gonna leave. Like, I'm hungry. Does anybody want to walk to this place around the corner? So we're like, all right, yeah, we'll go. So we walk around the corner, there's tape everywhere, sirens everywhere. It's like, maybe there was a body or two. We saw one getting loaded up, but like, we know what else had happened. And like, there was already like a gang of Santa Muerte candles there. So it was like,
damn,
did we time it just right? Did we
this is a really interesting thing that I like to talk about. It
really kind of like freaked us out. And like, I still think about it. I'm not necessarily like thinking about the result of it, but I think about how like just kind of opening it was.
The definition that Jung gives of a synchronicity is an acausal connecting principle, right? And so you could say like a lot of people will hear that story and say like, oh, y'all caused that or whatever. But like, and I have this same idea about just magic in general. And sometimes it feels like my rituals aren't causing these things to happen. My rituals are coexistent with these things happening. Like they're the ripples that go backward through time from that event. My rituals like are the ripples. So it's like, it's kind of like this idea that like in a lot of indigenous cultures that if the animals don't do their thing, that like the seasons won't come and the sun won't rise. Like,
right.
Like, so when does that make sense? So like,
yeah, totally.
The fact that y'all did that at the same time as that happened wasn't a causal thing. It was just, they were both ripples in the wave that was happening at that moment. They were part of each other.
Yeah. Yeah, man. It was a wild night for sure.
That's a cool story, man.
The story's nuts, bro.
Thanks, dude. Thanks for prompting me to tell that shit.
Yeah.
Too, I was just like, I was thinking about the other day. Yo, you should have Sandra on too if you're still fucking with her.
Dude,
like you should have her on.
No, you know what? I was talking to her when my computer crapped out and I never got back in touch with her, so I need to reconnect.
They were the first working group that I did scrying with, and I was like, oh,
because we were about to record. We were scheduled to go, man. And then like some shit happened, and then you're like, I don't know, man. Just 2022 happened. And...
Yeah. Totally.
I have two stories. One of them is sort of like what I was doing early on, because I had my whole entry into magic was through it was kind of like I kind of meandered my way through shit, but early on I had found the Disinfo Guide to Magic and the Occult. You know, and the first chapter was all about sigils, and I did a sigil in college. I think I did like a sigil for like $2,100 or some shit like that. And I ended up getting my first credit card, you know what I mean? Like a few months later. But it didn't register for me that was a product of the sigil, you know. But in hindsight, when I thought about it, I was like, oh shit, like, you know, but
and it got it to you in a sneaky ass way too.
And it's
here's a credit
man.
card.
It's almost like you did it in anticipation of the thing happening. More so than even causing it to happen, or like time isn't really work like that. Like if we look at like time like an angel looks at time, like it's just all one event.
So that for me was wild. But before I joined the Temple of Thelema, this is probably like maybe a year or two before I ended up joining the Temple of Thelema. I was really, really into Golden Dawn shit. You know what I'm saying? It all started with it really started with me reading the Mystical Kabbalah. And then I couldn't find a Golden Dawn temple in New York at that time. And I found it was a Golden Dawn, it was like an online Golden Dawn order that was working through the Chick Cicero, you know, Chicken Sound.
The Florida scene.
That big ass green book.
Yep.
So I was working through.
Could never afford that shit.
Yeah, I think I stole it, bro. I actually think.
Word.
I think I stole it. I think I stole it from Barnes and Noble in fucking Union Square.
Hell yeah,
that's tight then.
Manhattan. So I was working through. I don't remember what their grades are. I don't know if it was
I don't either.
Grade, like some Golden Dawn person, but this fucking dickhead,
right?
Listening to this shit, like, yo, don't speak on what you don't
like,
know.
Yeah,
bro.
we're the dickheads. You're still doing Golden Dawn magic, but we're the dickheads. Right?
Exactly, like, bro. But anyway, but I remember, shout out to the Golden Dawn. But But I remember working through the
That shit works.
0 to 0
The
grade
neophyte grade.
shit. Yeah, the neophyte grade shit. And I didn't finish. I didn't finish because at some point I was like, first off, I have no way to gauge if anything is fucking happening.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I don't have the money to actually go out and physically get all of this shit. I think here's how I made my tools. I had a plastic cup, I had a fucking butter knife. I took a CD and I wrapped that shit in aluminum foil.
Oh, that's a good idea.
A hexagram on it. And then I had a stick that I grabbed from a tree from my parents' backyard. And I was just like, yo, whatever. These are my tools and this is what I have to work with, you know? But anyway, the long and short of it is I had eventually gotten into the Lima, and I was supposed to go to an OTO Gnostic Mass, and I couldn't find the location of the Mass. But then when I got home, I had Googled what other Thelemic groups are in New York. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I had found the Iwa study group, and they had reached out to me. I emailed them, and they responded to me immediately. And one thing led to another, and I ended up getting initiated into the Temple of Thelema, I believe in 2006, 2005.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I think it was 2005, December of 2005. But after going through the initiation, you know, I realized that, yo, this shit is like I basically went through the Golden Dawn cipher, but the symbolism had been conformed to Thelemic principles. So it was like undergoing a Golden Dawn ritual with Thelemic symbols. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, am I saying that I self-initiated myself into the Golden Dawn? No.
Probably.
I think that's how that shit works.
But you can do it.
But engaging with that.
Crowley did that shit, didn't he? Didn't he like come across some shit?
Yeah.
And he was like, hey, this is what y'all do. And they were like,
yo, he would just meet somebody.
That is what we do.
And he'd be like, yo, I fuck with you. Here's the secret of the 9th degree. Like he did that shit often. He just gave it away. He was like, yo, here it is.
Yeah.
Yo, most of the OTO rituals, most of the OTO grade rituals weren't even they were never done. They were never performed before like the 1980s. And Lon Duquette and like all that whole rabble scene, like they're the first ones who actually technically opened those grades.
Yeah.
So, and I think like my experience, I quit in neophyte too.
That shit was dumb hard, bro. Because I didn't have anybody. Look, I had nobody.
Right,
I was in my parents' basement working this shit.
Yeah.
I didn't even have people on the internet to go to.
I had the opposite experience. So I reached out to this group and they were like, yeah, let's meet up in public so we can like get to know you. I was like, all right, cool. So I showed up and met them and they were like, oh, okay, we fuck with you. Like, here's the prelims, like do 6 months of this and then we'll do the actual neophyte initiation. Right. So I did the neophyte initiation with them and like all the tools were nice and like everything looked nice and they were all reading out of books and it was just like, I just didn't, it was a cool initiation experience. And I am kind of like an initiation junkie. Like I like what it unlocks. And
cool,
I like the drama of it. I like putting my trust in someone else to like walk me through this cool process.
Yeah.
In the group that I was with in Phoenix, they were all off book. Everything was set up. So it was like sensory deprived. And like, I really trusted these people with an initiation into this experience. And it was super rewarding. But this Golden Dawn just didn't have it for me. And I had been doing most of the stuff up to like, I think the 3rd degree, whatever that is, of Golden Dawn anyway. So I was like, whatever, I'm just going to go do my own thing for a while.
Yeah. Yeah.
But mine was the exact opposite experience, but it was like the same experience.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just like, there's nothing sparking here.
Yeah.
But the Golden Dawn shit works paradoxically.
Yeah.
Like one of my favorite rituals is the opening by Watchtower. That whole sequence from the banishing ritual, that pentagram, the hexagram, and then that whole opening by Watchtower sequence. I love that shit, dude. Yeah. That shit is tight and it works and I'll vouch for that. But for whatever reason, it just like isn't sparking anywhere else.
Yeah.
I see.
Man, I think that happens to me a lot, man, where like I'll go through a whole thing and like I haven't done any of these orders or anything, but like I'll go through a whole thing, man, and like
Good.
I maybe take or a course or whatever it is, and I'll maybe take like just a couple things I really like out of it, and those are things that I'll use, man. And like that's I think that's
it's almost like conspiracy theory, and that it's just like if you just like
there's nuggets, man.
This, it can extend. It can expand where you can go.
Yeah.
Right? It's like that metaphor of like going into the section of the map in the video game that's not lit up, but when you go in there, it lights up a little bit, and you realize you don't have the boomerang to get you through this dungeon to get to this shit that you need. You know what I mean?
Word.
And I think the spirits bring you through that shit too, man. Like, go ahead.
Hopefully,
What were you about to say?
No. What I was gonna say. I mean, speaking of what you just said, like the spirits bring you through that shit. You know, man. I think if they want you, if they want you to engage, they'll see to it. They'll meet you where you're at. You know what I mean? They'll meet
it'll work.
But they might need you. They might need you to just know this one thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Is what I'm trying to say. Like,
right.
Okay, look, we just need you to know this shit, but like, you're gonna go through a whole 6-month process.
Yeah.
But that, like, it really is like the real treasure we had were the friends we met along the way.
the real treasure was reworking the initiation of the keyword or whatever.
I'm gonna tell you, man.
For 6 months and being like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I've spent $500 for a fucking meditation, basically.
Word.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, man.
Well, I think there were a couple other things that I got out of that course, but like, one of the biggest things was just the fucking meditation. It's dope, dude.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
I'm not gonna say the course, but I think.
And shouts out someone made a meditation that deserved $500. Like, that's tight. Good for you.
Someone has amazing sales magic.
Yeah, hell yeah.
They're like, yo, let me, yeah. But yeah, that was I would say that was at least one of the earliest experiences where for me it was just like, yo, if you like this shit is real.
Yeah, when the spirit shows up in the mirror the first time, and you're like, "Oh, okay."
Fuck. And then I
got to go to work tomorrow too.
Yeah, I would definitely say the second, not really the second, because there were a lot of. I mean, in between that was years ago, bro. That was like, I mean, what is this? 2020? We're about to be 2023. That was like 18 years ago or some shit. You know what I mean? But the most one of the most recent, I would say, has to be, you know, the engagement with the material from, you know, the Rune Soup Angel Magic course, yo.
Word.
Like, and it's so funny because, yo, I remember I was not trying to fuck with that course. When the course got announced, I was like, angels. And you were like,
I was really leery of them. I was really leery of them.
I was like, man. But yo,
I remember texting you being like, man, fuck angels.
Yeah, I was like, come on, man. Like we had other options, right? We had like demons, we had the devil, we had we had like wild shit. So I'm like, angels, you know, but nah, bro, something that course right there, engaging with that course, that for sure left me with zero doubts that one, magic works. You know, angels or whatever, celestial spirits, for people that get all fucked up when they hear the word angels. I'm sorry. Celestial spirits or whatever.
Shit. Celestial intelligences, man.
Yeah, like, yo, this guy's talking about angels. Fuck this guy.
I like
appropriating Sumerian culture. You be ashamed of yourself. It's a beautiful culture and you don't belong to it.
Dude.
Judeo-Christian bullshit. But
yo, fuck angels.
For real, I literally went from like, yo, fuck that to like, no. Well, Gordon's on to something, yo.
I know we talked about this last time too, but like it also, I saw other people see the conversation, and like I saw people bugging. So like even it hit you, and then it like its rays extended out, and like other people were like, oh shit, okay. Yeah, I remember people being pretty shook.
Yeah,
from what? From what? Because I wasn't around the chat at the time. So,
oh man, so
what did you do? Oh, you did the PGM Laurel, right?
Yeah. So he had a modified PGM spell
with the bay
where
leaves.
you're supposed to, with the bay leaves, you make
Baileys,
a crown. You know what I mean? And then you basically you call an angel, of the Pleiades, for a dream
Pleiadians,
oracle. Man. Yeah, for a dream oracle. And in the dream, in the notes of the spell, it says you'll know when the angel comes to you in the dream because you'll recognize
someone you're familiar with.
You're familiar with, right?
Yeah.
So I had this dream where I was like in a library or something, and I was talking to this woman that had she had like the face of a bird. It was like this black woman that was probably like in her mid to late 60s.
Auntie Pearl, yeah.
And she had like this, in the dream, how she felt to me, the kind of person that she felt like was like she was like an aunt. You know what I mean? Like she's somebody like we all have somebody, a female or someone who identifies as a female, in our lives that when we interact with them, we're like, yo, that's like my aunt. You know what I mean? And there's like that that kind of love and affection that you have for that person. And so she was talking to me in the dream, and I remember she let me hear her singing. She put an AirPod in my ear, and she played a song. And I remember it was like, yo, this is so beautiful. This is you. And she's like, yeah. And then she walked away. And then I was like, wait a second, like we need to know more about you. Like we need to know about you. And then she pointed to a book, and she was like, there's a tarot deck in there. And so I was like, what? So I, at the time, I was also doing this dude, Mal Strangefellow, he released a course on the 4 kings, right? The 4, Orion's Pink.
4 demon kings.
Yeah. And there was some way of creating names for some spirits, for some helper spirits that you call, from each of the 4 directions or whatever. So I used that method to sort of like come up with a name for this, for this woman that I encountered in a dream. And I used the Thoth deck. I basically I basically laid the cards out in the form of a heptagram, and I traced like a sigil, you know what I mean? And then I put the names together, and then I had come up with this weird ass name in Hebrew. But then I went on the Ansible, and I shared about my experience, and then people started chiming in, and then we started to break the name down.
Yeah, we started doing gematria.
Yeah, we started to do some gematria of the name, and then
and it just started sinking and sinking.
It was like holy shit. But the name of the spirit was Gabdar Pakat, right? And so someone who spoke Hebrew broke down the name,
read it, or
they could read Hebrew, and they were like, Gab means miss, and then Dar is this, and Pakat is this. But it basically, by the time we were all done, working with the name, but what we had came up with was Miss Pearl. And then I was like, Miss Pearl. And then all of a sudden it hit me that my first babysitter's name was Ida, and her nickname was Pearl. Like people in her family would call her Pearl. And we, like, when I shared that with everybody was like, holy shit. Like,
people started bugging, man.
It was nuts. But then here's where the tarot comes in. Here's where the tarot part comes in, right? I shared it with there's a woman, her name is Elise Orsa, and she runs probably the best tarot group ever, on Facebook.
Shout out.
Yeah, shout out to Elise Orsa, shout out to the Cards and Coffee group. You know what I mean? Like, phenomenal, like just phenomenal, And so we were talking, and I was sharing this experience with her, and she told me about the Hoodoo Tarot deck. And she said, I think she sent me a picture of one of the cards. Yeah. And one of the cards is a card of a picture of a woman named Miss Ida. And each of the, like, if I'm not mistaken, in the major arcana of that deck, each of the cards are based on an actual historical figure who is prominent within, you know, the hoodoo tradition.
See these
And
communities.
so, and so Miss Ida, here's the crazy shit. So Miss Ida, the card Miss Ida, she did a ritual. She did like this ritual where she lit like 7, like, oh, I can't remember. Like somebody's gonna fucking be like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? But anyway, this girl,
they're
like,
already saying that. So
basically, cool. the card was basically about a girl who did a ritual over like a long period of time, and she made connection with like her guardian angel or like one of her ancestors or something. You know what I'm saying?
Dude.
But there's also something about the 7 sisters that's related to that card too. You know what I mean?
Which is the
Pleiades. You know what I'm saying?
Which is like the original connection, because that's like
who you did the ritual to.
Like,
who I did the ritual to. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah, dude.
And
but like this shit just unfolded.
It unfolded
throughout like a day.
Yeah,
like we just kept picking it apart. And thankfully, this dude in the dream had the wherewithal to be like, wait a second, you can't just walk away. Like, I need to know something.
Yeah.
Like, can you teach me something? And she was like, yeah, look in the tarot. And then we just started chasing this stuff down. And it was fun, man.
Yeah, it was.
Like, I had a really good time.
Yeah, we had the Ansible going that day, bro.
And I was just like chasing the gematria down 777 and being like, look, and it would connect to the Pleiades, and it would be like, And then there's that Gnostic parable about the pearl, and like you look through that, and it starts talking about stuff that synced up, and it was just like
it was nuts.
And people were just like, kind of, you know, in the Ansible when you get rolling on somebody, or in any chat room, you get rolling, and like people just quit talking because it's like 3 of you. It was kind of like that all day, but people throughout the day would check in and be like, this is crazy.
This is wild. Yeah.
And it was really like, So it's like he got a lot out of it because he works with it, but like, it just spread to all these other people and just,
But it's still impacting me. It still has an impact on me now because part of that course was kind of inquiring into this notion of becoming angelic. You know what I mean? So we opened up the course with reciting some verses from the book of Enoch. You know what I mean? And then on top of that, so we started.
Oh shit! Should we be giving those whole shit away?
Oh,
that's all right though. Just say
I mean, y'all just gonna have to do the course.
If you haven't done it yet, just do it. But like, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
But I'll do my best to talk about it without giving away the course content and shit. But I can tell you right now, at least for me, magically, I'm really, really, really interested in this idea of, you know, people, like human beings being able to, I guess, acquire or maybe uncover their celestial identity. You know what I mean? You know, not unlike Enoch, you know, walking with God until he was no more, and then he becomes Metatron, or like, I think it's Isaac wrestled with the angel and then became Israel. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And then also, I believe in the African, you know, I think in Ifa too. You know, like there's this whole concept of like you're really a celestial being on Earth, and you have to recover your identity so that you know why you're on Earth. And
that's some Gnostic shit too.
Please, if you're a Babalao listening to this shit, don't come at me, bro. I'm just, you know what I'm saying?
But with other people who are clearly on this shit too, because these people from the year past, these ancestors are showing up in your dreams and pointing you to magical practices. So it's like there's all these connections going on within it too. Like ultimately, celestial, we are all stardust.
It's why every man and every woman is a star. You know
your farthest ancestors
every man and woman
are stars.
It's a star.
Yeah.
Every man
your farthest
and woman is a star.
ancestors, if you go back far enough, your ancestors are stars.
Stars.
Well, and there's always that joke,
and they're from stars.
Stand up and spread your arms and legs, and you're a 5-point star, right?
Yeah,
every man and woman is a star.
It's bananas. you know.
Yeah,
So
that divine spark, dude.
yeah, you know, and it's funny too because, you know, part of, you know, there was something around, you know, calling the spirits of the air, you know, with that, you know,
Yeah.
at that time. And then, you know, for me, like where I was at magically at that time, at that point to where I am now, you know, having like starting from there and then engaging with that material and then ending up at a point where, you know, my central practice involves working with, you know, the seven aerial kings and the aerial spirits, you know what I'm saying? So it's like that shit blew the door open to, you know, a whole avenue of magic that I wasn't even looking for, but it's like that's my lane. So now I have my work to do. That's why I'm really into, like, that's why I'm all about astrology now and shit too, you know, because, you know,
Shouts out angels.
word, like, you
Dude, they
know,
really do blow it wide open, man. It's crazy. Like,
yeah. You know, Enoch got escorted up into heaven, and the first thing that they did was they got him acquainted with this, like with what was going on up there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, AKA knowledge of the stars. You know what I mean?
Word.
You know, so and the directions and all sorts of shit. So this ties back to myth. Like as when we were talking about, you know, it's like I heard like when we were talking about conspiracies, and then we kind of touched upon myths. For me, it's like, you know, at any given point in time, you can step into like the realm of a conspiracy, right? Like there's people that are still let's just say like the JFK shit. You know what I'm saying? Like motherfuckers in the 60s were like, yo, what, you know, and that shit, and there's still people that are still trying to figure that shit out. You know what I'm saying? So
that's
somebody can step into that stream now, and as a result, start to participate not only in what came before, but like participate in where it's going, you know? And I think there's something I think that's also the case when you start to deal with certain kinds of magic. You know what I mean? Like you're
that's why they call them currents.
Yeah, currents, exactly. Like you're adopting like this mythical, you know, framework that, you know, the entryway is it's like it exists in language, you know what I'm saying? So the entry point is to start to engage in the language of the myth. And then the next thing you know, the language is framing the way that you see yourself, the way you interact with the world and stuff, you know, and then things start to happen that are, you know, like in accordance with and consistent with the myth, you know what I mean? And then, you know, like it just adds a certain kind of meaning to your life, or rather, like maybe it's vice versa. Maybe it's like I'm taking meaning from the myth, and I'm attaching meaning to my circumstances based on what I'm getting from where I'm at in the myth. You know,
what's being
I'm situated. I become situated in the world.
Yeah.
Instead of like, and this is just my experience, that I felt like a bystander for so long. You know what I mean? And like,
yeah.
But this stuff helped me to be situated in a larger context. Like, and I think that's part of what we're missing too without the initiation stuff. Like that's what that's for, obviously. And like, it comes back to the myth thing. You know what I mean? Like there's a reason that societies have done this since we can remember.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, also, you know, I could speak to this a little bit as somebody that's, you know, part of an initiatory order, you know, like the initiation ceremonies, you know, are in some ways, they can be your entry points into the myth of whatever ceremony that you just went through. It's up to the person. It's up to the initiate to do the work to start to connect the dots and start to be able to see how the myth is playing out in their life. And it does recontextualize, you know, it does provide you with a particular context that's separate from what you would have inherited if you didn't get initiated. You know what I mean?
Right.
Which then ties back to what you were saying, Tim, about kind of like being able to explore things aside from what we would, what would naturally, what we would end up with, or what we would quote inherit if we just continue to go with the flow of whatever society is dictating to us.
And I think
it's
that's
like,
why magic and conspiracy go together so well, man.
I've never seen it. So I've never seen them so intertwined until tonight. You know what I mean?
I'm glad. That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
That's some,
but we've never also, we don't
Jupiter
have
shit.
anybody to initiate us. So like we have to do shit like, I don't know, go to jail and have Odin come rescue us from
shit like
shit.
that. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like that's it's like you need the initiation, and the only way it seeps in,
but it's
because
gonna
it's so
happen.
sealed up tight, is like, okay, well, you have to go through a harrowing experience.
You have to go through an ordeal.
Yeah, an ordeal.
But then I think
sure.
like my hope is that like, so that's cool, man, because that means that like when all this stuff was lost, the spirits kept it safe for us.
Word.
And now they're giving it back.
Word.
And I mean, like, and some of the stuff isn't lost. You know what I mean? Like with some of these stuff, the stuff that you guys are talking about, this has been kind of carried on, and that's cool. But like, for the idea, like in society at large, these ideas of initiation and being in the context of a greater myth, as they've been thrown by the wayside, it is like the spirits secreted that stuff away almost and like kept it safe, and they're giving it back.
Yeah.
Like, and
why did the Gnostic Gospels only show up in the early 20th century?
That was
like that's when they show up.
Yes.
Like
dude, they
right
showed
before,
up
right around Roswell and right when Crowley dies.
Dude, they showed up the same year of the bomb, man.
Right.
Yeah. That's, I mean, and that's wild, like.
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I guess people were ready for that kind of,
Yeah, they were being set aside.
I don't think they were. I just think a part of initiation is like, here, carry this.
Right.
Yeah. Whether you're ready or not.
Whether you're ready
or not. Like,
a lot of people
going
don't
through this initiation. Like, you're going.
It's become initiated or die sometimes.
Yeah.
Literally.
Or become lost. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Or initiated and become lost because we don't have anyone out there to guide us through anymore.
Yeah. Well,
we do though, I think.
Yeah.
Well, we do. We have a couple people. But I mean,
and maybe not even
stuff, and
incarnate
like there are
people.
some people who are helping.
But
yeah,
like,
totally.
But
like culturally, socially, at large, like
dude, for the most part, no. For the most part, no.
Occult,
most people don't have someone.
Yeah, they don't.
Yeah,
they don't, and that's kind of my bigger point. Yeah, but
I can hear what
you
you're saying.
You were saying something, Tim, about the occult and all this stuff, like connecting you to something, right? You were saying that. For me, it's like I have a bunch of Scorpio placements, but like, but for me, it's more like
I like that preface, by the way.
I'm doing this stuff and it sets me apart. Not like extraordinarily so, but like, I don't know, man.
It definitely sets you apart.
Every village needs a witch, right? So you might as well like fulfill that in whatever niche you can. If you're called to this shit, like you might as well. And to do that, like you stand apart from
sometimes
culture.
Being part of something bigger alienates you from the mainstream human story. Like that's
no doubt.
Like,
good point.
Yeah.
Because we don't want to, like, it goes back to the people not wanting to believe that they live in this like cynical monster machine. Like they don't want to believe that they live in like a world where their government doesn't want the best for them.
Right.
People also don't want to be situated in that larger thing, man. They want to be in their small stories. They want to be in their little world, in their day to day.
It's hard.
And so becoming connected to the bigger thing, dude, it's only set me aside. It has only set me aside in everything I do, man. In everything I do, because there's always this current. I always get hooked up with this current. I was thinking about this today, man. I always get hooked up with the heretical current with whatever the fuck I'm involved in. There's always
there
like
you go.
the straight dope. You know what I mean?
Right.
They're like,
yeah.
I see it everywhere, bro.
I bet.
It's interesting. And it's like, what
Yeah,
is this just my karma? Do I have like heretic karma? Which is like, I'm there for it.
Ah, I mean, that's a cool band name too, man.
It is, yeah.
I'm gonna use that, heretic karma. That's tight. But like maybe, but maybe you're just like in this one just to like embody heresy a little bit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? In times of change, like you need people who are willing to be like, I'm gonna go all in, and then realize that like, and like kind of bounce around and just be.
Dude, because
I don't know. I think it's a necessary position, honestly.
That's the magic of Gnosticism, man, is that like dude, like the real fire, like the real secret fire that we're all carrying, like that our ancestors carried for us, like this fire that we carry, it never really, man, in my experience, dude, it never jibes with the rest of the fucking people, man. It's always like some kind of controversial shit. Like,
you
know, I don't know what that is. If that's just,
I think it's, I don't know. I don't know what it is. I don't want to like, I really dislike thinking of myself as some kind of like X-Men super fucking
no, cool I don't think it's that
wizard
man.
Person, but it's also at the same time like, if there is this archonic current trying to take us away from these things, then like anything that steps outside of that is outside of it. And it's like, but you still have to interact with people on the day-to-day. Like you don't get all the way abstracted from it. Like you still have to DoorDash or like,
you still have to live life, man.
Do you know what I mean?
In the valley.
So you have to be in there, but like as you're swimming, you ever been walking down the street and realize you're on the wrong side of the street because everyone's coming this way? Like it's the Matrix kind of shit. Like that's just kind of like how you start going sometimes on this path. Eventually, I think you cross over to the other street and you start going with the stream a little more. But sometimes for me, I've definitely seen it. You just have to swim upstream from everyone else for a little while.
I think that like that's just a great way to tell that you're like doing it right personally. Like it's not about being a fucking special X-Man. It's just about like making choices.
Yeah, but it's a fucking pain in the ass too, man. But like it really is.
Yeah.
But speaking of X-Men, not for nothing, I used to watch the X-Men cartoon and I totally wanted to be in Professor X's school of special kids. Yeah. And my fucking TOT jewel is literally the fucking X-Men.
Sick.
Hell yeah.
You know? I made it, motherfuckers.
You're called to it. You're called
to it,
there. And like witch cults or covens or like wizard gatherings or like that's probably why we joined the Golden Dawn and the Temple of Lima.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We want to be around people like this because there are just not many. I can't talk this shit at work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know? Like, what am I?
Yeah. Very few people I can.
So it comes down to just relating.
Yeah.
And like when you start doing these things, you start relating with these other things that people have forgotten or don't pretend they're.
People don't like it
because, like, again, they're eating the steak, man, and I can't blame them for it.
People don't like it when they're like, cite your sources, and I say, it's from a mystical old tree.
From the universe.
Cryptic symbolism in my dreams.
Yeah, that's why I think that we were talking about this the other day, like this UPG shit. Oh, unverified personal gnosis here, but like that's a psy-op, dude. That's just so we don't trust each other and listen to this shit. And because if I come to you and say like, "Hey, Kate told me this shit," that would be okay. But if I came and like with some people, that'd be okay. For the mainstream, that wouldn't. But like, you get where I'm going with this,
dude. I thought that was a really clever take, man. I hate that word, but I thought that was really clever, man. Like, because I think you're totally right. Because it's got two qualifiers at the beginning of Gnosis. It's adding these qualifiers to Gnosis. Why can't it just be Gnosis? No,
right.
It's unverified and it's personal Gnosis. Well, like that's what fucking Gnosis is, bro.
Takes there were,
yeah dude. There are a million.
Takes. It's like they're like, oh, okay, it told me this, but like maybe I needed this and you needed that. like we need to meet in the street and talk about it. But like, yeah, why the UPG shit? It just doesn't smell right to me, because if people are genuinely working these things and like trusting themselves, I don't know, man. There's something going on out there that they don't probably want going on. So we got to add a qualifier to it.
Yeah.
Discredit it. Like, you can't cite that. Like, oh, I wrote this paper and this is what Hecate. Like, you can't use that as a source.
Right.
And why not?
Well,
like a mystical old tree told me, fuck you.
Like, dude, I kind of am like, I'm halfway in the camp of like writing was a bad idea.
Okay.
Say more about that. Say more about that, because
dude, because it is okay. So it definitely taking a little bit from Sand Talk here, but he talks about how like they were forced to learn how to like the Aboriginal people in Australia were like forced to learn how to read, and it like fucked up their language, because it wasn't like a written deal. It was a verbal thing. And he talks about like how that actually does shift your consciousness. Now, whether it's not like I'm saying we shouldn't read or write anymore. But I'm saying, like, what did we lose?
Oh yeah.
What did we give up? What was the trade-off for that? And I think that part of it is like when you codify something in writing, when you write it down, when you make it concrete, you take in some form, like you concretize it in a way that it's not alive in the same way as it was when you were passing it down verbally.
Dig this. There's this book called The Alphabet versus the Goddess. And the argument this author makes is that like the switch from pictograph style, hieroglyph style, like image language to that's like A means A, B means B.
Dude,
is like a switch from matriarchal to patriarchal culture.
Well, it's right? Imperial. It's and straight like, up imperial, dude.
It's imperial, right? And that's that's how he codes imperial, because it's kind of like, it was kind of like not cool to say that. So he gender codes it. But that's essentially cool? What he's saying. And he goes through every culture. He surveys, not every culture. He surveys a great many cultures around the entire world and finds the same thing over and over. Like as soon as they switched from the glyph to the letter, like everything changes.
Dude, so you could encode.
It's like a really Egyptian, good book.
I want to read that. It sounds great. An Egyptian hieroglyph tablet can be like multiple documents at the same time. It can be both a story and like an inventory of a fucking storehouse, because the images encode like exponentially more information than like sound for sound, letter, whatever phonemes
do. Or even like the transcribing of like songs into like written language. Right. Like I was listening to the dude from Nordic Animism just released an interview with the main dude from Warjuna, that like Nordic cool ass band.
They're really
and
good.
they were talking about how there was this ancient I'm never gonna even try to say the word, but there's this ancient poetry style where this poet goes before Eric the Blood Axe and like says this poem, and it's like 7 layers deep. So eventually the king is thinking about it because it's such a good poem, and he realizes that he's insulted him. But by that time, the dude is like 3 miles down the road, because this song that he sings and like the way he does it is so encoded with all these different meanings. And as soon as you put that into like a language and write it down, it's like, oh, okay, well, this song's about like the grain or whatever. But it was really like, fuck this king to his face. For like, dude. I sang this song for 3 days and just said fuck you the whole time, and you didn't realize it till I was out of town. Like that whole, like the way that written language, it changes things, bringing them into such a material, solid, unyielding position, in my opinion.
Yeah,
you know, I'm a little bit divided on this.
That's why you got to
because on the one-
memorize your spells too. Sorry. Go ahead.
But dude, it's a trade-off.
This is what I'm thinking. This is what I'm thinking, right? What specifically is coming to mind is my experience with the Liber 65, right? So
okay,
and also Liber Al. But Liber 65, and I'm gonna state like a very
which one is 65?
Liber 65 is the heart and serpent.
Okay, yeah. The heart encircled by the serpent. Or whatever. Yeah. Pretty.
Yeah, very, very like great holy book. But so on the one hand, I could see how the written language concretizes things, but there's a way to like use the written word to sort of call forth the spirit of what's being written. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
well, Alan Moore just had that quote a little while ago. He said, like, you get 26 characters, you create universes.
Dude.
Yeah.
Technology must be wielded with certain things in mind. It's got, you know what I mean? Like, you don't just use it for like, just because it's fucking easy. Like, I think that in order to properly use technology, you have to possess some, like, I don't want to call it morality, but it is sort of like, it has to be wielded with like a responsibility.
Yeah, I hate that word. I hate that term. I know what you're saying, though.
Give me a better one.
Well, all right. How about like Crowley's definition of black versus white magic, where black magic is like anything you're doing. White magic is, and the proper magic, the people who are not in the quote unquote black brotherhood are doing magic that like just pushes them down the path of their will, versus people who are doing black magic who are just like interfering, or just like, I've heard it's like doing shit for material gain, but it's really just like not, it's going against like your correct flow, your will. So like, how am I going to connect this with what we were just talking about?
Well,
so like the way technology, if you use technology towards, I don't want to say a good gain, because it's like, what is that? But towards your true will, and you wield it correctly, it's probably going to wield better results than just like making, I don't know what the analogy is.
Okay, every technology comes with a trade-off. Right. So like we have this amazing capacity to like store information, but it comes with the trade-off of like, we don't fucking know, like remember anything anymore.
Right.
You know how many phone numbers you know? Couple.
The important one, 3.
Used to know them all. And so that's just a really simple example. It's kind of a dumb one, but it's a simple one.
Yeah.
And so there's a fucking, like technology shouldn't be to make things easier. It actually calls us to live up to the blessing of technology, as opposed to just using it to sit on my ass or some shit. You know what I mean? Like,
and that's why we're not getting to Mars, dude, for that exact reason. And I appreciate you pointing it out.
Like, I have to rise to the advantage that it confers. I have to rise to become worthy of the advantage that it confers. I think that's where it comes. So like, yeah, like written language isn't a bad thing, but there's so much of a trade-off that like I have to like, dude, it's almost like honoring what we lost. I'm honoring what we lost with the advent of writing by rising to the advantage that it confers, or any technology
of using writing to create like unbelievably beautiful, like Liber 65, or like your favorite novel, like using it to do these things. Like, your consciousness has to, consciousness, I hate that word, but like you have to be at the level of like, we're not going to get to the consciousness that gets us to Mars is not the consciousness that gets us to Mars because we trashed Earth and had to fucking get to Mars.
Right.
Like that's not why we get there. If your daughter came up to you and was like, yo, I just destroyed my room, it's uninhabitable, would you be like, oh fuck, I guess we better go to Mars?
Or like, you gotta like, no, don't clean your room, just
clean up your fucking room. Like, we're not going to Mars, clean this shit up. And like within us cleaning it up, we might raise our consciousness a little bit to like develop new technologies that will eventually get us there. I don't know. It's just, this is I've been thinking about too. So,
well, what I wanted to say about at least, you know, the holy books, and, you know, the fact that they're in, you know, written language, is that if you know how to use language to evoke something, and I don't mean that as like, hey, I don't, in one sense, I'm not talking about, you know, Solomonic evocation.
Sure.
right.
But I am talking about evoking the presence of something using the written word, such that like each time that you recite the holy book, in
Right.
this example, you're bringing forth the presence of something that isn't necessarily the same as what happened the last time you did it, but
Totally.
it has a presence. You know, you're speaking, literally speaking something into existence. You know what I mean? And at the same
Sorry,
time,
go ahead.
I'm not contesting that there's something that gets lost in that. Like maybe it was the, you know, like I'm thinking of Carl Germer, you know what I mean? And the fact that this dude was able to, you know, that's what he was able to do to attain knowledge and conversation, you know, in a fucking concentration camp. You know what I mean?
Right.
Maybe what allowed him to do that is that he had reached a point where he was able to literally breathe life into each word of the fucking of the holy book, such that his speech and his recitation of it gave a body to something that didn't necessarily have a body. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
And that would be
He
the
couldn't
proper
have done
use that
that.
I think we're talking about.
Right,
you know?
exactly. And that's what I'm saying. Like you know.
But here's my question to you. Like, in your experience, I know in my experience, but I'm curious your guys' experience. In your experience, like, does that thing happen when you're reciting it, or does it happen when you're reading it?
No, I don't think it's necessarily exclusive to the holy books. I think it's
no, I'm just saying, technically, when
of,
you're reading your spell, when you're reading the invocation, like, does it hit different if you have it memorized?
Yes.
I think it does. And
Yeah.
for that,
I think it
for that
definitely
it's
reason,
calling me. It's calling
about.
me out too, because I really have been feeling I need to do this, and I haven't.
You got to memorize your shit, dude.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, the
I
initiation
think,
experience I had with people off book versus on book was night and day. And every time I memorize,
because it becomes a part of
it
you.
hits. Yeah, and you sing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even if you're not, like, I can't memorize shit, but like, I've done the headless rite so often now that it's like, oh, I can, expel this, but it's less. I don't know. You know what I'm trying to say?
I know exactly what you're saying. I think the advantage, the advantage of being able to recite something, and I don't even mean recite something from memory. It's like, it's the difference between reading something and being it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
totally, 100%.
If you have memorized it, or at the very least, like
if you've written it down yourself.
Yeah, like if you
dude,
yourself, and
copy it and write it down by hand and then memorize it.
Well, dude, that's the only way I can memorize it, dude, because I can't memorize it off like a phone screen, man.
No, me neither.
It's weird. It's almost like that's another trade-off, man. Like, I don't know what it is, but it makes it really hard to remember. But when I write it down, and it may be the part of the fact that it's been filtered through me now that I'm writing it down.
Physically,
and I made a loop.
Manifested it.
Yeah. But this makes me think about a dream that I had a few months, like maybe close to a year ago, where something was speaking to me, and what it was telling me was that the fact that we can speak, and we can use speech is inherently, like, there's something that's inherently magical about our ability to use speech.
Yeah. 100, totally.
Yes. I mean, how did God create the world? He spoke it. Yeah, he did.
Whoa. Dude, that's kind of weird though that he froze when he was talking about speech.
Damn you, Archons.
Shariyf, come back to us.
Oh, that's a bummer. I wanted to hear that.
Me too. We'll hear it.
Yo, what the fuck happened, bro? Yo, I was on some profound shit, bro.
I know, man. We were
I
bummed out.
I know. My bad. I just started talking, dude. My bad.
It's cool. Like, I don't even know what happened. Like, for me, the meeting ended.
You froze here, and we were like, what the fuck just happened? And Mo thought you were done talking, so he started talking. And I was like, no, Shariyf froze, bro.
As usual.
Yo, that's mad weird, bro.
Okay, but you got to say what you were saying again.
Yeah, no. So what I was saying was like, you know, the dream, like in the dream, I was instructed that like human speech is and it is inherently magical. You know what I mean? So, you know, like speech itself can be used as a technology. You know what I mean? It can be viewed as a technology, and you know, if we take the position that like you stated, Tim, like it should call us forth. It should like call us forth in such a way that we use it responsibly. And I know responsibly is such a blank. It's like, what the fuck does that even mean?
It's like, all right,
I become worthy of it. I become worthy of it. I rise to it.
Worthy of it.
I think it's having a relationship to speech, like to the spoken word, such that like with this word, I literally can create or destroy.
Yeah.
You know, like if like what comes like including diminishing myself. I could build myself up, I could destroy.
Okay, that's a good point. Yeah.
Down,
elevate speech and myself at the same time. We co-elevate. We like that's relational.
We're looking for a relational metaphor here because like
that's why I say
it's too hierarchical and I bristle, man. It just doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
Well, I put it like this. Put it like this. Like let's use a cooking metaphor. All right.
Yeah, do it.
Okay.
Like I know. Okay, so I know. You know, I know that as long like I have to use fire to make the food. You know what I mean? Because if I mishandle the fire, I could die. Right. However, if I use it properly, I can create something beautiful, something that provides pleasure, something that brings me closer together with the people that I'm feeding, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like this awe. And I guess that's like, I guess the best way to, it's like a fear, but it's not fear.
It's, I honor it.
Yeah. It's like because I'm aware.
You don't like honor either?
Honor. Yeah. No, honor is great.
No. I'm talking to Mo.
No, you know what I was
I'm talking to Mo. Sorry, he made a face.
I'm just going to cut in since you called me up. I'm going to cut in. You know what I was thinking about is bees and honey.
Oh,
like you can get honey if you don't get stung a bunch of times.
Yeah,
but if you're cool, like you're going to get the honey out of this bee situation.
So it's just about getting stuff.
But you're fully aware of that. You're fully aware of that. You know what I mean? And so that shapes the way in which you engage, or that it shapes the way in which you speak or you don't speak, you know?
Yeah, totally.
You know?
No, I'm with you.
You know, so where was I going with that? So it's like speech is technology that calls us into being such that we have a reverence for it, you know? And it's like we have the wisdom to see, like, look, if I say X, Y, Z, I could literally I could incite a riot, or I could spread a rumor about someone and I could destroy that person. Or I could say things that I can be someone that when I speak, you know, it elevates the people around me, or it creates things. It compels people to do stuff that they wouldn't normally do. I'm aware of the, you know, I'm aware of that. Like it's like just like I'm aware, like I can use fire to, you know, to heat my house, or I can use fire to burn somebody's shit down. You know what I mean?
Right.
So having that sort of relationship to it. And from there, if I have that relationship and I allow it to call me to be like, quote, you know, I allow it to have me bring things into existence, you know, then it behooves me to have the kind of mastery over speech that one has when they memorize something. So that when I'm reading or I'm reciting, let's say, a thelemic holy book, I'm doing it in a way that it's not just I'm reading a holy book.
Right.
I am literally performing an incantation.
Right. It's like those people that know the whole Quran.
Like, I'm bringing this.
Damn.
Yeah, like, yeah, you
wouldn't
know
want to fuck with them.
And in which,
Dude,
and every time they recite it, but like every time that they recite it, they get something else becomes present. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we're not even dealing with the meaning of. We're not even dealing with the meaning of the text. We're now dealing with a level of speaking where you speak and something becomes present. There's an intent. There's a
it's the act of creation, presence. Man. It's like the fucking initial act of creation, like the voice over the waters, or
God said.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, there we go.
you know, I ain't no Christian or nothing,
but this is what I wanted to say. This is what I wanted to say.
I don't want you to get fucked up or anything.
Yeah, no, we're
this is what the kind of, I don't want to say unpopular opinion or whatever, but this is something that I personally discovered could be missing from, you know, people who identify as Thelemites or whatever. Like they're not approaching the holy books like that. Like, yo, I'm gonna approach the holy book in a way where I'm gonna be able to become it. Like, I'm gonna ingrain it, so that when I say this, when I speak it, I'm gonna bring something into existence, you know. And I think that's a mystery of Thelema that's not really explored. Motherfuckers are so caught up on what the fuck Crowley was doing. You know, Crowley was engaging with this shit. You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
well, that's what Parsons was doing. He was taking it and like coming up with his own shit. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Is how long we've been doing Libra 15? Like, y'all still haven't gotten the inspiration to like move a little bit beyond this, or like to do your own thing, or like, you know, to like just take this to the next level. Like, you're still doing shit from what, 1921 or whatever. Please don't. I don't know the date. Like, don't come for me on the
Mad
date.
Thelemites about to come for us. Yo.
I know.
Mad Thelemites about to cancel the shit out of us.
I'm sorry. None of y'all perform magic anyway, but I'm sorry.
But this goes back. But this goes back to like also like another point that I'm trying to make in that is that there's a hidden in plain sight. There is the potential for at least there's like the potential to discover like this hidden tradition that can only be discovered through spoken word. You know what I mean?
Right.
By not just recite, like, hey, I'm not talking about, hey, we're gonna get together, we're gonna read the holy books and then talk about what it means. Like, no, fuck that. No, we are gonna incant. Like, we're going to literally call forth. We're gonna call forth something.
Yeah.
You know, and how we're gonna do it is we're gonna recite the holy book, you know, but we're gonna speak it into speak the shit into existence. You know what I mean? We're gonna speak every fucking word.
There's a bunch of you too.
Yeah,
that's
another key too. That's another key too. There has to be more than one person.
I really wish that like more people could have like a group experience, because like the things that you do solitary versus the things that you can do in a group are like, they're not any better or anything, but like the more juice behind it with a group, man, it's so cool.
Dude, we did a group. We did a group intention at Wizard Camp, and it was my first time ever intending with the group in person. And it doesn't even really matter what the intention statement was, because I was just like having a transcendent experience with that level of connection with people.
Oh,
like, I was just crying the whole time, man. And when we read the hymn to the Agatho Diamond, but like we didn't have it printed, so everyone just recited what they remembered. And so like sometimes it would die out over here as these people didn't remember it, and like this crowd would pick it up where they remembered it, and it was like the Agatha Daemon hymn was dancing around us. That's and like
cool.
Dude, I was like overcome with tears. Like, it was so powerful. And dude, we did this intention, And then at the end of the intention, we were by the campfire, which had gone out and was just like, when the fire is just like there's smoldering embers below the gray, like it's hot under there still, but it's not a fire. Well, when we came up out of the intention, the fire was going.
That's tight.
That shit was unreal, man.
There's something about being with other people, man. That's why when you're on like a winning basketball team, it feels so goddamn good. Because everyone's just clicking. You know that thing where everyone's just clicking, or you're in like whatever group situation. Like that's why people get off on being Navy SEALs, because like they're the top of the shit and they're all on their shit. And that probably when that stuff goes like a well-oiled machine, boy, I bet it feels. I bet there's nothing like it.
I can't imagine. So, okay, we didn't really talk about the coming year of Magic, but we kind of are getting there.
Yeah, I think.
Do we want to take a stab at 2023?
Yeah, I would love to. I would fucking.
All right. Yeah.
Can I get? Let me grab a beverage.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll be right back.
No problem.
Y'all don't fucking talk about me while I'm gone.
We're gonna talk about threesomes. I'm gonna ask Shariyf.
I've never had one.
Shariyf, you never have one?
Nah.
So Tim is the only one of us who had a threesome.
Yo, that shit seems like a lot of work. Like
I know.
As much as I would love, don't get me wrong. As much as I would like, I would love to have one. One day I was actually thinking like, yo, you know what? That shit would take mad work. You know?
It would. I get mad bashful because now there's like two people looking at me all the time and shit.
I know. You know?
Like, yo, why are you just sitting there? Well, what am I supposed to do? I mean, or whatever. Or whatever, whoever you're with, whatever. But it's like, I don't know.
And then it's like cool, if you think about it, like, yeah, I'm pretty sure it's cool. You know, there's probably other people that are like, yo, I tried it, it sucked. But like,
yeah, I feel
it's
like
more of the
cool
experience
the
than the actual.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like you were saying, the embodied experience is an important part of incarnation, right?
I mean, I mean, listen, if given the opportunity, then
I don't know, man.
Take it.
It just sounds like a lot of work, B.
Yeah,
it's a lot of work afterwards. I feel like, especially if you're like, I don't know. Anyway,
yeah.
Also, like what about like the awkward anxiety afterward? You know what I'm saying? Like
the afterward is the worst.
We just did that,
man.
People are gonna listen to this who are like more experienced with orange juice and shit. Be like,
yeah, they're gonna be like, yo, these motherfuckers are so stupid.
These are so stupid.
Or like people that haven't done it are gonna be like, God, these fucking guys,
idiots.
Here's the thing, man. Shit. It was like a big fantasy for me. It was like that was one of those things where I was like, this is an end all be all fantasy moment for me. And it was one of those moments where like I'm in it and I'm looking at it and I'm like, fuck. This is it.
Yeah.
And nothing is ever like,
I get it.
Some things you can't imagine and they're better than you could imagine, but some things you imagine so much that when they actually happen, they're just like,
exactly.
This is it.
That was cool though.
That was cool, and I could
I could talk about it on the podcast wantonly one day.
And like be like,
interlude.
Sorry, Mom. Hope you're not listening. I think all my family stopped a while back.
Oh yeah, like, dude. If anybody's this far, like shout.
Shout out to you, yo. If you're still listening to this shit, shout out to you. Like you basically are listening to like an 18-track rap album where track 16 is a fucking
like just
talk about the
between.
Skit. Yeah, like back when motherfuckers are doing skits. Like, thank you for listening to the skit.
Okay,
rest
so
in peace,
anyway.
ODB the greatest.
Well, shout out to ODB. Rest in peace.
ODB the greatest.
R.I.P. It's 1, 2, 3, 4 o'clock, man. That's crazy. Okay. So yeah, 2023.
2023 Magic. You know, so I'm going off of, I'm just gonna, out myself and say I'm going off of like my very limited scope of what I see people talking about on Facebook.
Cool.
You know what I mean? Like,
okay.
And I'm saying that because there's a whole realm of Magic that doesn't get talked about. And I'm pretty sure there are plenty of people doing mad cool shit that don't post online, you know what I mean? Like that are doing some really deep shit. I think 2023, we're probably going to see we're going to see more PGM shit for sure.
Okay.
I like it.
Because I think because there's some people, shout out Allison Chakosky if you listen to this shit. She does her thing with the PGM. And there's a dude I can't pronounce his name, but he's about to drop a book. I think it's called Interlinear Magic. So I think we're gonna start to hear more from the people who, have been engaging with the PGM rigorously. That's their jam. That's their lane.
Yeah, I think that's when you get the best results too. Obviously,
they're all about that shit, and they're starting to discover stuff that other people haven't really pieced together because of their practical engagement, with the PGM, but also like depending on who's doing what, their scholarly engagement with it too, So I think the people that have engaged with the PGM, they've drilled down, you know what I'm saying, to the point where they're like examining sources, We're gonna start to see more of that shit.
I'm looking forward to that then.
Yeah. I also think I think we're also gonna see a lot more women having a voice and not controlling, but we're gonna see a lot more women having a say in like what is, quote, I don't want to say fashionable, you know what I'm saying? But having like a lot more women having a say in the larger magical discourse. Gonna start to see more of that shit.
Shouts out women. Let's
shout
hear
out
it.
to all the ladies out
I
there
want to
doing
see
magic.
it too.
Yeah,
Fuck with you. We love you. We empower you.
Hell yeah.
It's kind of funny you say that, because like when I was thinking about this question when it was posed to us a couple weeks ago, we had this idea, like when I look forward, just like when I go in my little head and I like look forward to 2023, like
it's not little.
What's up?
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I said your head's not little. Go ahead.
No,
well, he does have a big ass head.
Big ass head. Working on the beard.
My bad, dude. I didn't mean to take you off track.
Yo, come on, man. You lined yourself up for that.
Easy. I mean, deep fake. Someone deep fake me onto that dude's head. You know I don't fuck with Canaanite storm gods. I just see like a conservatism. Like I don't know what it means or like how that applies or whatever, but I just see like I see people stepping away from like conceptions in popular culture that might have been like in vogue for like the last 10 years.
Yeah.
But, like I see people really stepping forward, like women, and being like, these things were not like, we tried this doesn't really work for us. Like I don't know. That's just all I can really see.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Like it's like the dominant narrative is going to be challenged majorly this year,
or dominant narratives,
or
like narratives. Yeah.
Anyway. I just wanted to chime in. What else do you see? Because
I also feel like on the one hand, I feel like we're going to see more. Here's what I've been seeing for the last few years. It's like the occult scene has been like kind of like Golden Dawn, Thelema centric. You know what I'm saying? And over the last few years, there's been a dramatic break from that centrality, and a lot more people are starting to branch out and take into account other systems and traditions of magic that were happening at the same time that the occult revival of the 18th century, like
19th century, like the late one,
like they were happening concurrently. Yeah, they were happening concurrently. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so what used to be like Crowley is not the golden standard for magic. You know what I'm saying? Like he's just not. Like he did great shit, but he will not. Like I think you're gonna start to see more people start to provide evidence for like, look, while Crowley may have been doing really cool shit, like at the same time, people in this part of the world were doing this, people in this part of the world were doing this,
totally.
People in this part were doing this, and it just didn't take the way that what he was doing took. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like you're gonna start to see more of a break from that, and that's already. I mean, that train has already left the station, but I think it's gonna be loud and proud.
That looks like the grip of an empire loosening.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Because
is like
that
ironic.
Golden Dawn OTO shit is like very British.
Yeah.
Very like of that imperial era. And you see that in the magic.
It also comes with it, like that shit also comes with a way of thinking and standards of measuring what is magic, what isn't magic, what is good magic, what is bad magic, like what's, like you're gonna, like, I think we're gonna see a complete, by the end of 2023 going into 2024, we're gonna start to see a whole new standard of what constitutes magic, and it's not.
And you think the PGM is gonna kind of kick all this off?
I think
this new entry into the PGM.
I don't even want to say it's a new entry into the PGM, because there have been people that have been working the PGM for a while. It's just
deeper, like their caverns, deeper temples.
I think we're gonna start to see more of a return to what magic, just like how like there's a resurgence of interest in Hellenistic astrology. And we move from modern astrology to like Hellenistic astrology, and now Hellenistic astrology seems to be being recentered. I think something similar. We're going to experience something similar with practical magic. Also, I also think that a lot of people who are inspired by Jake Stratton Kent, there's like this dude inspired like at least 2 or 3 generations of magicians. You know what I'm saying? So the people who
shout out JSK.
Shout out to JSK.
Prayers for JSK.
Prayers up to JSK.
Prayers for JSK.
You know what I'm saying? I think like the people that he inspired are gonna start to sort of
get more confident.
build on like he presented, like a thesis. You know what I'm saying? Like a whole thesis of magic. And I think what we're gonna start to see is people that have taken that thesis and that have done practical work, and their practical work is now at the level where they're able to provide fruits for the community, where the conversation I think spirit-based magic is gonna start to take the place of what Thelema and Golden Dawn magic was.
I can definitely see that. I can definitely see that.
I can start to see, I can see that happening, where it's gonna and it won't. I don't want to say like the lodge magic is gonna be put on the back burner per se. It's just not gonna be the standard, And once it's no longer the standard, once it's no longer the standard, you're like, new people that are coming to magic are going to start to encounter the work of JSK and the people that are inspired by JSK's work. And so we're going to start to see a whole new generation of people that are like, all right, the Golden Dawn and OTO and Thelema, and that shit's cool, but that's not like, we're not fucking with that.
Right.
We're fucking with like, yo, I'm working the Key of Solomon. I'm working the Heptameron. I'm working, the Grand Grimoire. I'm working the Verum. You know what I mean? I think we're going to see more people that have worked the Grimoire and Verum start to present, start to step to the forefront and talk about what engaging with that particular grimoire has made open, and available to them. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah. Who I think kind of starts this wave? Like, it's interesting you say that, because I think of when Scarlet Imprint did re-release Cross Keys. Or did Cecatelli's like Cross Keys. Like, knowing what we know about him, and like I think what you're saying triangulates in ways like that. Like William Gibson's quote, "The street has its own uses for things. The street finds its own uses for things."
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I think that's what you're saying strikes that chord within me.
Yeah.
It strikes in me this idea, because what I was gonna say, and I could see this kind of going into what I'm about to say too, is what I was about gonna say is that I can see like smaller groups, like the internet is helping like people get together, right? And so I think a lot of these larger groups are going to be breaking off into smaller groups and specializing in different things and doing like covens, like micro covens, or like internet covens, right? Like
or like little strike teams, or
That's some Age of Air shit, right?
That's what I want to see. That's like that the idea of like the witch cult, the idea of like in We Are the Witchcraft, like wherever there's a lot of organization, we depart.
Yeah.
Like we're meant to get together in these things for this one purpose, and you launch it and you like never talk to each other ever again, and you move on to the next thing. It's like you never stay in one place.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of that's kind of my dream, is like a bunch of people magically efficient enough that we can all get together and like be effective enough. And then like I know a bunch of people who want to have like a social gathering group and they get together and I'm just not interested, man. Like let's get together and like actually rock some shit and be silent.
Yeah.
It's funny. This brings up this idea too. Did you listen to that recent podcast with Gordon and John Michael Greer?
No, I haven't listened to it yet.
I haven't listened to it yet either.
So they're talking about like techniques or like what can the magician right now use. And like when I listen to the conversation, all they basically come up with is to know, to dare, to will, and they don't say to keep silent, but like those 4 things is like looks to me like it would be a really cool thing to I don't know where I'm ranting on this, but like these little Splinter Cell, I keep using like terrorist. I keep using like language of the state.
I like it though. I like it.
Freedom fighter groups. But like these
guerrilla warfare, man.
Yeah. These covens that form of magically potent enough people that you don't have to spend a year teaching everybody the basics of this shit.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I want to see.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's cool. Yeah, that's interesting because what I was going to say is I think we're going to start to see more magicians like pulling up on each other. You know what I mean? Outside of events and shit to do exactly what you just said.
That'd be tight.
I think people are going to start.
And they don't need to talk about it at all. We don't need to see the books. We don't need to see none of that shit.
Word. Like it's just like it's just like this departure from a little bit of like the beginning of a departure from like I don't want to say like books and courses and shit, but I think people are
going away from lodge magic. Yeah, I think you hit on it earlier.
Yeah,
like away from this idea that there's like a hierophant and you initiate everyone and they come up through whatever the fuck. It's like, if you're good at this, like let's just go.
Let's just
we don't active. Have to we don't have to join the NBA. Let's just go play fucking basketball.
Let's play ball. Yeah. So I think people are gonna be getting more active, and putting in work, to use gang terminology,
Word.
Like, that's gonna be what the central focus is. It's like, all right, cool. Like,
it's funny because gangs is one of like the central rites of like getting jumped in.
Yeah.
The rite of initiation. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think we're gonna start to see more of that shit. I hope this is my hope. I hope we start to I hope that we start to get more content is like not really the best word.
Yeah.
But I personally want to hear I want to hear motherfuckers doing magic. I want to hear like, I want to hear more about that. I don't necessarily want to like, I don't want to hear about people talking about magic,
their new book,
or, or their new book, or like their course and shit. Like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing?
Yeah. What are your feet doing?
Exactly. Like, what are you doing? What kind of feedback are you getting? Like I hope to hear more of.
I want to hear those stories too.
Yeah, man.
That's why I asked you guys, like, what was your magical experience? Like,
like
I know we fuck with the philosophy of this stuff, but like, when you lit the fire, like, did you see that shit burn?
Yeah,
I want to hear more of those stories too, and I hope that like more people feel willing to come onto this podcast and like tell those crazy stories. Like my story where I
they're always invited,
and, like,
man.
Saw Corona. Yeah, man, and thank you for the space because it means a lot that like that's what I want to hear, because if you're having it, like, let's find each other and let's start doing this shit, and we can use the PGM works, man. Let's use it. I don't know.
I feel like we're gonna start to hear from.
If my CIA agent handler or whoever is like listening to this shit, I'm not like trying to incite people to violence. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I feel like maybe in 2023, I think we're gonna start to hear from more operant magicians that don't necessarily have like a product, to pitch, but
I hope so.
they're out there putting in work, you know what I mean? Like they're active, and like they may not necessarily want to they don't want to commoditize what they're doing, like, but they want people to be aware that like, yo, we're active. I'm active. Like,
Yeah.
this is what's going on. So fuck
I
with
just
me.
want, I
If
want
you're
to
trying
see
to
it
be
start
active,
rippling
fuck
through
with me,
culture.
So
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I think we're gonna start to see more of that,
Right.
I hope so too, man.
That'd be tight.
That'll be dope.
Man,
that'll be dope as fuck.
I'm doing this 12-day deal, this ancestral elevation that I was telling you all about, and I'm going to be doing it like over New Year's into the new year, and I really want to time it so that I'm in the middle of a ritual as that fucking ball drops. So that I end the year in the middle of a ritual and begin the, you know what I mean? Because they say what you're doing is what you're going to be doing all year,
Yeah,
that's dope. That's interesting.
That's dope. I wrote down like at the beginning and when we started talking, and you had mentioned that you're doing an ancestor elevation, right? I actually wrote down like, all right, the beginning of the year, like my ancestors are gonna elevate it,
Hell yeah.
So that's a great idea.
Dude, I'm doing, and I'm gonna probably work this into being like a whole year-long deal. We talked about this, but I'm doing ancestors of each sign of the zodiac. So from Christmas, the 12 days of Christmas until Epiphany, each day I'm elevating a sign.
Interesting.
And so this is just kind of like a test run because really, ideally, you do like multiple days per sign, per group. Because I want to elevate each one.
Where'd you get this idea?
Yeah.
I just got it from talking to other magicians, man.
That's tight.
Yeah.
See, and that's the stuff you need to be doing because when you do these things, sometimes you meet beings like Auntie Pearl, who's wait a second, like tell me something. And then you learn things and then you do them and then you do them with other people. And it's like,
and then like Cyprian showed me how to do it, man. Like,
oh, that's tight, dude.
I did a Cyprian Naveen at a launch into
let us know how it goes.
Yeah.
I want to hear about that shit.
Yeah, I feel like I also think we're probably gonna in 2023. I think some of the spirits in these catalogs are starting to. We're probably gonna, there's probably gonna be people that have either been doing work or started like really intense work with certain with spirits from different grimoires, and I think I think those spirits are gonna start to take they're gonna start to come to the foreground. People like doing dope shit.
Does that mean Lucifer Praxis comes out this year?
It's supposed to.
Lucifer Praxis drop. You know what I really want to drop? I hope, man. I hope. I can only hope and pray.
36?
Nah, the SSM. I hope the Summa Sacra Magicae.
Oh, I don't know it.
Bro. You gotta.
Do I need to look that shit up?
You gotta look that shit up, bro. Put it like this. You know how like I'm gonna say this and the Thelemites are gonna fucking lose their shit.
Good.
So Crowley dropped Magic, right? He dropped that big ass blue book.
The big
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Basically, what Crowley was doing, fucking, I can't pronounce his name. I think it's Berengario Ganel was doing in the fucking 1300s.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So like a couple hundred, like he basically created an entire compendium of magic. You know what I'm saying? Like a whole book of magic, defined it in everything. You know what I mean?
Huh.
In the 1300s.
Damn.
And
heresy.
a number of
heresy
people
is following you around.
Yeah, this brings me to fashion. You know what I'm saying? Like, certain things go into fashion and they go out of fashion, and then later on down the road they come into fashion. So I'm sorry. Crowley wasn't necessarily the innovator that people think that he is, because Ganel was doing what he kind of did, fucking like 300 years earlier. But anyway, I'm hoping that book is fully transcribed, translated, and published.
That'd be sick.
Because it is such a key it's such a key text, for the Western Solomonic tradition. You know what I'm saying? Like it's wild.
I'm gonna look into that shit. I've never heard of that.
There's a lot of there's a few. I don't want to say there's a lot of people, but there's a few dedicated people that are working on that. You know what I mean? So hopefully, hopefully we see.
That's what I love.
Movement with that. You know what I mean?
Subculture. This subcultural shit where people are moving and translating all these books.
Yeah,
like
man.
there's a little shadowy cabal of people.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah, which I think is going to grow. I think that little sub niche of people is definitely going to grow. You know what I mean? You're probably going to start to see more people partnering up and teaming up with Joseph Peterson.
I like your predictions this year, my man. I like them.
I hope they come to fruition, bro.
Me too.
For real. I hope the majority of them come to fruition.
Yeah, they sound good.
You know what I would like to see personally? Me personally, this is what I would like to see. I'm really my biggest influences are the hip hop culture and community, and Instagram food content. I would love to, like, dead ass, bro. Like I just see the connection somehow. But I would love to see, I would love to see like, or hear like a podcast or like somebody create something where magicians are like taking like a recipe, like a basic ass recipe, and they're making it together. And at the same time, they're talking about magic that they've done, like the same.
That's a cool idea, man.
That sounds like your
dinner.
Podcast, man.
It could be my podcast, yo. I might.
No, that needs to be a video series, man. Because I want to see how these people move around the kitchen with each other.
Yeah,
too.
I might.
Oh, you have to see it. You have to see it.
You got to.
I might just be plugging my vlog for like, and it'll literally be like,
do it.
Dude,
that's awesome.
I'll come through.
I would come through too, man. I would fucking love that shit.
I don't know, yo. We'll make some fucking.
You and Tim should make some ribs.
Like, yo, it'll be dope. Like, we'll just take it'll be so cool. We'll go to Instagram. We'll fucking take some food content. You know what I'm saying? People will get the ingredients.
But I want to make magical food, man. I want to smoke the ribs with like certain holy loads and shit. You know what I mean? Like,
but you gotta, but you have to tell stories of your magic
while you're doing it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But because and if you get off conversation and like start talking some theoretical shit, like it's all about stories. It's gotta be just stories while you're cooking.
Yeah, exactly.
That'd be tight, dude. You're right. You should do that shit.
You should do that shit.
I should do it, man. I should do it. You know what, man? I'm not gonna promise it because I'm gonna have a bunch of motherfuckers be like, yo.
Well, now you put the idea out there, so you're on a time.
Somebody wants to do it with me, holler at me. We'll do that shit together.
No one listening to this shit at this point, bro.
There's at least like 6 motherfuckers that are like, yo, these motherfuckers are lit.
Those diehards, man.
I'll do it with you.
I fuck with these dudes. For real, Yeah, I feel like you'll probably also see a few people that have a different that just look at the shit differently. You know what I mean? Like yo, look, even like the whole releasing books and shit. Like, I'm not knocking people that are releasing books. Like, I be buying mad people's books and shit. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not even gonna lie.
Books are cool.
You know what I mean? Like, I fuck with the books. I fuck with the courses. But even that's still part of like that Crowley model. You know what I'm saying? That Golden Dawn, that Israel regarding model. You know what I'm saying? Where the shit just so I think
through written language.
So I think we're gonna start to see different kind of content. At 2023, where people are just like, first off, I don't have the patience to sit down and write a book, but I'll film myself talking shit and laughing about the magic that I did that didn't work with somebody else that did even crazier magic, and we'll talk about it, and like it'll be valuable to the people that listen. You know what I mean? Like,
and we'll cook some good food that we can like eat together after that.
Word.
And like, what's like more magic than like sitting together with everybody and like having a feast, dude?
Yeah, I mean, bro, let me tell you something, man. Some of the most rewarding experiences that I've had have been mindlessly scrolling through Instagram, coming across some crazy ass recipe, and then going to the supermarket, getting everything to make the shit, making it, eating it, sharing it with other people, seeing how they react to it. You know what I'm saying? It's like
telling each other stories and shit.
It's like telling stories and shit. You know what I'm saying? It's like that in and of itself is a particular kind of magic, you know, or
it's human.
Oh, no doubt.
It's quintessential
You know?
human magic.
Yeah, you know. I mean, that's basically what we do. You know, we come across shit, we like it. We're like, oh, this spell looks good, you know, whatever. Or I need XYZ. You know, then we fucking go out and buy the shit. We perform it. We
And
find other people who have done it, and we talk about it. Like it's the same shit.
Call in your chef ancestors.
Word, you know. What I mean? Yeah.
All the mamas who had to cook with nothing.
Yeah. Oh man,
dude, you know they were coming up with some good shit, guys.
Yeah.
I love y'all.
Yeah. Oh yes. Yeah. We've been going out for almost 3
I'm out
hours.
of steam, bro.
You've been talking all day too.
Yo, this is like legit astrology podcast level shit.
Yeah. And you know what? I'm barely gonna edit it, man. I don't even know that I will. I'm just gonna
whatever, yo. It's the end of the
here's a fucking conversation for y'all.
Yeah, just
they're the Hanson brothers compared to this fucking podcast. Thank you for having us on, dude.
Yeah,
it was like fun
really
to share, just like I said. So,
dude, thank you for coming on, and thank you for it's cool that to end the year like this, man. I think it's fitting and good.
Yeah, same, man. I think this is foreshadowing for next year. You know what I mean?
Hell yeah, man. We'll do it more.
I hope so.
Word. All right.
Appreciate you guys.
Later.
Much love.
Appreciate
Take
y'all.
care of yourselves.
Peace out. Later.
So did you hear the whisper? It happened at around 2 hours and 7 minutes, but I'll play it again here as well.
You know what I mean?
Right,
Yeah.
and that would be the proper use
that
I think we're talking about.
Right, exactly. And that's what I'm saying. Like you know.
But here's my question to you, like,
so please let me know what you think. Do you experience weird shit? Do your parents not like to tell their friends about what you do in the woods? Do you make more friends in a graveyard than you do at a party populated by living humans? Do you have interactions with beings that are not strictly considered human? Do other people look at you like you're crazy when you mention talking to trees in casual conversation? If you fist pumped or even just answered yes to any of these questions, you may be a nightbird. So let's sing together. If you'd like to come on the show and flap your gums with me, share your stories, or just talk about the malleable nature of reality for a while, then send me an email at tim@nightbirdpodcast.com. That's tim@nightbirdpodcast.com. I'd love to have you on the show. But until then, I gotta fly. But before I go, let me say this. Remember, you are never alone. I believe you.